Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Geraldine Orozco was supposed to be our guest. However, she is ill. So, stepping up to the plate, the red-headed alien vixen herself, Samantha Mowat, will be here talking all things from consciousness to contact, and you're going to absolutely love it indeed. Before we bring Samantha on, let us say hello to everyone in our chat room tonight. We have Sugar Britches in the gold medal position. And B with a silver. Race fan taking home the bronze medal tonight. Happy 4th of July to all of our American listeners. Thank you so much for being great neighbors to the South. We love you. We really do. Laura Lobbs, how you doing? Roy Boy, Third Rock, and Gizmo. Nice to see you. Chris 716, Kurt M, Robert Lamoth. Thank you for coming on in. Les Paul Holland, Monica, and Zed Hutt. Good to see you. John Corner, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with roll call, Brown Dwarf and Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? Area 51, Guy Calgary, how are you, my man? Good to see you. Penny Van, thank you for coming on in. As we continue on with roll call, there's number 34 in your program, starting in net from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen. Ozzy Sue, thanks for coming on in. Forrest Louie, good to see you. Millennium, my man, and Stargazer, how are you doing? Stargazer is going to be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Underscore Maddie, nice to have you back. Your hair's looking great. And Dog from Australia, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so, so much. Continuing on, let us say hello to Ozzy. Oi, oi to you. And Forrest Louie, thank you so much for the super sticker. Very much appreciate the love. Hi, Rose Brooks. How you doing? And Para Marv, good to see you. Continuing on with roll call, there's Pixie Lara and Marlena. Nice to see you. Jessica, thank you for coming on in. And where else are we? James Weston, good to see you. And Kawhi Snyder, thanks for joining us. And Forrest Louie, once again, another great super chat. Thank you so, so much. Hi, Richard Elmore. Good to see you. As we continue on with roll call, Typical Freddy, welcome to SOR chat. As we move on down and say hello to Cat Chaser. Sweetly Morbid Bear, it's been a while. Sweetly Morbid Bear will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Everybody try and scare Amber Dawn Glover. She has a case of the hiccups right now. So let's, boo. Oh, I scared myself there for a second. Sycophia, what's happening? Thank you for joining us. And let's see, who else do we have here? We have sweet Donna Spencer. There she is. Lightwalkers, thank you for joining us. Hi, Susan Ahern over in Provincetown. Miss you, my dear. Hope you're doing well. And let's see, Digger Dog, thank you for joining us. Big J, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Zune, what's happening? Good to have you back. And who else is next in line? Aaron Bacca, thank you for joining us, and thank you for that wonderful super chat. Very much appreciate the love there, Ron. And continuing on, Mac Geek, James Friday the 13th, good to see you. And who else is next? Donald Dean and Video Game Zombie. Good to see you both. Adam Robbins, good to have you here. Welsh Hammer, and Christine Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Let's get the radio side going so we could get Bill WD40 into the chat room to lube us up for tonight's show. And let's see, who else do we have here? We have Emmy Tong. Thank you for joining us. Very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate you. And hey, we're caught up. We are caught up. All the rest of the Americans are partying right now. Where's the Mexicans? Where's the Europeans? Haven't seen them yet. All right. They'll join us. They will. They always do. Don't forget, if you're new here, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and hit subscribe. Ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week. Hello, beautiful Aussie Ange and Kevin. Thank you for joining us. And we got like 5 seconds to go here. You know what you need to do right now. All of you do it. Just point your hands at the computer. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, we welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out the swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of information tonight. Samantha Mowat is coming on in to discuss everything from consciousness to ET contact. Then in hour number 3, we got a spooky story from Among the Missing. Steve Stockton will be back. And Robin McCrae fills in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Now, every so often, I got to make a phone call north. Yeah, there are people north of me. There really are. Like Samantha Mowat. She is a good friend of mine on a personal level and on a professional level as well. She is clairvoyant. She is intuitive. She helps people with their everyday lives get in contact with loved ones on the other side to extraterrestrials. She's a lifelong ET contactee who has been through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when it comes to things like disclosure, or whether or not humanity is ready for extraterrestrial contact, Samantha is one of the ones I turn to because she's not involved in the political game. She's not involved in the daily UFO game that we play here on this show or on places like UFO Twitter. No, she's the real deal. She is honest. She is truthful. You may believe her. You may not. That is the choice that you get to make yourself. But one thing I do know is Samantha provides solid information that has scared everyone at times, including those involved with extraterrestrials within the government. Her website, samanthamowat.ca. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us once again. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I am good. I'm great. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks here to start our filming for a project that we have to keep kind of quiet. So, but we can say there are cameras involved. There are trees involved. There are, vehicles involved, but hey, it is what it is. And you're going to be back down here and enjoying the sunshine with us, so I'm doing good. We got a good crowd here listening on in with our radio shows, stations, and on YouTube and Twitch and everywhere in between. So life is happy in Spaced Out Radio Land. That is for sure.
I love it. I think that's awesome. And I'm excited to see you too. Hopefully we'll get to have some really interesting things happening again when we go out in the woods.
Well, you know what? I will say this. Merle and I have been talking. We were talking about it this past weekend,
Yeah.
and he was telling me, he's like, dude, he goes, I think something big's going to happen while we're there. He goes, and I think it's going to happen at night. And I'm like, Merle, I said, I'm going to tell you point blank. I've had the same feeling. I've had the same
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah. And by the way, I've already scared Tim Senor. Okay. I've already scared Tim
Okay. Yeah.
because Tim is, he's planning to be the fastest one if crap hits the fan. He happens to be the fastest one out there. And I'm like, Tim, when we bring our vehicles up there, there's
Yeah.
no there's no taking keys out of the ignition in case we need to escape, right?
We'll be
He's like,
okay.
what? Really? I'm like, yeah, Tim. I said, in case something happens, we got to know where the keys are, right? So I've been playing it up a little bit for him, but that's okay. That is quite okay.
Well,
He'll
yeah, but there are a lot of Bigfoot and stuff like that up in the north, especially being quite isolated in some of the communities that we're in. And going even more into isolation, of course, you're going to encounter things that aren't as commonly seen by the public. So I'm really excited for us to go out there and check it out.
give us a hint. Intuitively speaking, what do you
Mhm.
think we're going to see? Because I have a picture of what we're going to see, and it involves lights in the sky
Yeah.
buzzing really, really close to us.
Well, I hope so. I've been asking for them to come give us a more wide awake and physical encounter, one that hopefully knocks your socks off. So I'm hoping they come through with it. And I do think this time you'll be ready to walk towards a craft and go see everybody.
Yeah.
If not, pack extra underwear.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm ready. I'm
Good.
ready. And I want to be there.
Hmm.
I want to be there, and I'm not going to chicken out like last time, Samantha. I
Dave,
promise you
I will
that.
hold your hand and drag you with me. It'll be fine.
Yep. No, you're not even going to have to drag me. I may take baby steps. But I can tell you
Yeah,
right now, I'm ready. I am totally ready for that
good.
next encounter. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't surprise me if it happens that weekend.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either. That's one thing I've found, no matter where I go camping wise, whether it's like Alberta or BC or the Yukon, the island, doesn't matter. I always seem to have ETs and physical encounters happen when I go camping. So that's one of the reasons why I enjoy camping so much, whether it's, in the back of my truck or in my trailer or with the tent. They don't seem to mind coming to see us when we're out in the woods like that. I think it's an easier time to visit.
Well, considering where we live in the middle of
Mhm.
nowhere, they're not having to find a parking spot on a roof of a high-rise building or in a subdivision, in order to try and get to us, but that's just the way it is. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, I mean, the area where we're going is very, very in
Isolated.
isolated. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And by the way, if this is your first time tuning in with me and Samantha, you will notice quite often she will finish my sentences for me because that's how in tune she is with me. I love it. And by the way, I did tell Tim, I said, by the end of the weekend, Samantha is going to be finishing your sentences as well. And he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah, she's that good. But nonetheless, I mean, when you get a feeling, I mean, you've been intuitive your whole life. A lot of people out there
Yeah.
haven't tuned into themselves yet. The majority have not tuned in. When you get a feeling like going out in the forest and something is going to happen, how
Mhm.
often does it actually happen for you?
Typically at least 4, 6 times out of 10, so decent odds. If One thing that I've found with this, Dave, is you have to also follow the energy when you receive those intuitive knowings. So you could get the download within your mind that says, Dave, go into the woods. And you can go into the woods, but let's say you're going into the woods and they tell you that they give you the energy that kind of guides you to walk along the stream or along the river. And you make the choice to stay at the tree line and go up that hill because you think you're going to see a craft and you're ignoring your intuition, which is telling you to go down by the river. Then you can also take yourself off that energy pathway and prevent yourself from having an encounter. So learning how to follow the energetic flow as it's being laid out before you is very important for allowing for yourself to have more physical contact, more of that psychic contact as well. And many of the people that you've talked to, especially those who are in the paranormal realm, dealing with ghosts and, poltergeist, stuff like that, they have a lot of psychic contact themselves when they're doing those types of situations. And so you have to really pay attention to the intuitive hits that you're getting if you want to see something in particular.
So can I manifest that? So let's
Mhm.
say that I want to
Yeah.
see a landing, see a UFO landing. I'm out in the forest, I'm camping with my buddies, or my family, and I'm sitting there all by myself. The family's gone to sleep. I'm hanging outside of the tent in a lawn chair, maybe a little fire going to keep myself warm, and I'm staring
Mhm.
off into the stars. Can I manifest the fact that I could have contact?
You might not be able to manifest it that night or in that moment like you're hoping to, because there might not be any beings around you or ones that are in communication with you already able to provide you with the physical encounter that you're hoping to have. However, if you do what we've been doing, saying, hey, we're going into the woods, hey, we're going to be in this area, and you keep saying that same telepathic communication to the groups that you're already in contact with, you are more likely to have a physical experience with them.
So have you been doing that for our experience out in the forest
Yes,
in a few
Dave.
weeks?
I know it's important to you, and that's why I've been telling them, yes, guys, please come see us. It's very important to Dave. And, I like seeing beings well enough. I actually asked them for a several-month break because I needed a break from everyone. So I told them to give me space, and they've been giving it, but they've just started coming back again the last month or so. So they're telling me to get back to work, which often means that I have to have more contact as well.
Do you like the contact? Do you enjoy it?
Some of it, definitely. I'm happy to see my hybrids. I'm happy to go to school on craft. Quite often, I'm fairly happy to have experiences where I talk to a being and share information. But when, as a parent, I got to admit it's very stressful when you have contact and when your children have contact, because it really sucks when you can feel a craft over top of your house and then you see one of your kids sleepwalking down the hallway and you're like, no, no, come back to bed. I don't know who's outside. I don't recognize the beings, and not wanting for them to go. And, it's kind of frustrating, like I've talked about in the past, where sometimes I'll get put back in the wrong spot. Sometimes I get put back outside. One time I got put back down the street from where I live, and I was quite literally wearing my nightdress. So when stuff like that happens, no, I'm not so happy to have contact. It can be a bit of a piss off, to be honest with you, because it can be inconvenient and throw off my energy, which can make it so I can't do readings for a couple days, depending upon what happened. If I have medical procedures done, or if they show me something that can be very stressful but relevant to know, then it can be a little bit challenging, in which case it kind of throws the rest of my life a bit of a whirl. So when it comes to stuff like that, I don't enjoy contact, but for the most part I do.
So what's the difference between then
Mm.
the contact that you have,
Yeah.
Samantha, and the contact that people will, or that you're going to manifest? Like you're saying, when we go into the forest in just a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
you're manifesting for us to have something happen. I've been doing that too. I know Merle has
Mhm.
as well,
Yeah.
but we're kind of manifesting it almost like it's a little bit of a game. So, even though it's not a game,
Yeah.
so what's the difference between what you manifest and what shows up?
So typically, if I ask them for something, if I ask it with good reasoning, they typically do provide me with the thing I'm requesting. Most commonly, I ask for either knowledge or I ask for healing. Those are the main reasons why I tend to facilitate contact. But when it comes to things like this, where we're going camping, we're going to be in the middle of nowhere, Dave, they almost always show up without fail, which can be kind of frustrating to, because you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll find yourself standing outside of your tent and you'll be like, why am I seeing a gray standing outside of my tent? Or why, like, Dave, I'm going to be very honest with you. And this is something that I haven't really talked to people about. This one time I was camping and we're camping on the lake in Port Alberni, which is fine. And we've got 4 kids in the tent with us. I have my husband and 4 kids. I had a couple of my nieces with me and the dog at the time. And the dog had to go pee before we end up like taking her to bed. So I unzip the tent. I let my German Shepherd out. We go down by the lake. She does her business. And then we're walking back up and I end up seeing a gray. And I see it for a moment. And then the thing disappears. I'm like, okay, you just cloaked yourself. Maybe I wasn't meant to see you. Maybe we're just coincidentally in the same area. I wasn't really sure what was happening there. All I knew is that because it didn't try to facilitate a telepathic communication with me at that moment, that it didn't want to talk. So I thought, fine, whatever, I'm tired and go in bed. I get the dog inside the tent. The dog goes to lay down right away. I zip the tent back up. I lay down. I wake up like an hour later because after what had happened between when I had gone to sleep and when I woke up next was one of my nieces had wet the bed and she was scared. She's like, "There's something outside. There's something outside." I'm like, "Honey, it's okay. It's okay," because she had just had a physical encounter with the Greys. So when you have stuff like that happening when you're camping kind of repeatedly, you just kind of come to expect that you're going to see beings and just be okay with it because it happens so often, especially when you ask the kids the next day, "Hey, did any of you have a funny dream last night? Do any of you remember anything from last night?" And you have a bunch of kids telling you, "Yeah, I saw this really funny looking man with big eyes." When you have stuff like that, you just kind of get used to it. You don't really feel as much of a need to ask them to come because you just have that expectation they're going to show up anyway. Do you understand?
I very much understand, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you breaking that down for us. For you though, it's
Mhm.
not that it's just one being or one set of beings that
Mhm.
is trying to contact you. It is a number of different beings from different galaxies, different timelines, different
Yeah.
dimensions. I mean, you kind of get a full rundown on
Mhm.
everything. So, how do you know, or do you sense what is going to be, or who is coming, and what the atmosphere is going to be that night or that day when you have the encounter?
Normally that day you can start to feel the energetic buildup. So what that means, think of it this way. With all of your audience, I want for you guys to think about a time in your life when someone that you hadn't seen in a very long time kept popping into your head. Could be a friend from school or like someone you used to date in the past or someone that you haven't even met, but you just kind of seen them around. And then you keep getting like this little like nudge in your mind, like they keep popping in your head over and over, just kind of randomly. You're like, "That's so odd. I wasn't thinking about that. Now that person, I'm thinking about them again." Only to later that day or the next day have that person stumble across your path. You kind of start feeling the energetic buildup as you feel their energy field and your own kind of merging over one atop of one another. And you start to feel that energetic sympathetic vibration, which tells you that you're going to be encountering that person soon. And the same thing happens with people when we're text messaging or receiving emails. We can often feel the energy of the person who's trying to be in contact with us or reaching out to us prior to that event taking place. And it's the same thing with extraterrestrials and multidimensionals. The main difference between a lot of normal people who are just going through the awakening process and recognizing everything from psychic abilities to their starseed heritage and stuff like that, and myself, Dave, is I've had many more years learning how to differentiate the energies, learning to trust the information that I'm getting, and going through many years of school on craft. So I have a better idea of feeling the vibrations of what's coming and recognizing the clear cognizant information as it's being given to me, which tends to give me more of a heads up of who's coming and what their intentions may be.
Hmm. Okay, so
Yeah,
the intention is everything, you know,
again.
and I think, I want to try and turn this into
Mm,
a movement into where we talk a little bit about consciousness, as we got about
yeah.
5.5 minutes before we got to go to break in the bottom of the hour. Samantha Mowat is our guest. The intention is everything. How does one set the intention?
So some of the easiest ways you can do stuff like that is actually allowing for yourself to clear yourself of other people's energy. So doing some grounding exercises, meditating, earthing, touching a tree and like kind of having your hands up against a tree for a couple minutes to clear that extra energy that you've absorbed from people and electronics and stuff like that, because everyone's a little psychic sponge constantly absorbing the energy all around them into their auric field. So dispensing of other people's energy really helps, followed by actually doing things like consciously focusing on the group that you want to be in communication with, especially if you suspect you're a contactee already. Then you would do something very simple like, let's say you had a childhood encounter and that's the only one you remember and you knew that it kind of felt nice, you want to understand more about it. You could think about that group in particular and send them like, do an open of your heart meditation where you just kind of relax and go to your heart space and expand the energy around your heart chakra outwards, because that'll actually increase your telepathic abilities and really increase the ability for you sending information. And then you would actually just reach out and say, "I would like to see you. I would like to communicate with you. Will you please come forward?" And they might start having communication with you psychically for many months before they actually come see you physically, just trying to get you accustomed to their vibration so that they don't scare you when they do come into your range. Because most people, Dave, if they're thinking, I want to see a gray, I want to communicate with a gray, and a gray suddenly like shows up in front of them, whether it's a cute little 4-foot guy or like a 7 or 8 foot tall guy, they're going to be very scared because it's a startle reflex and it's something very different than what they were, even though they want to see it, it's not quite something they're accustomed to. So that can make them feel nervous, which can make it very difficult for them to receive the telepathic information. And that's why even when you look at what some people do with their CE protocols, doing group meditations together, doing things where they're working together to raise their vibration and then call the craft in for the people to see the craft or to have them move energetically around them, it's the same thing. It really is. It's just teaching people how to connect into their energetic field to form communication. Most extraterrestrials and multidimensional beings are more psychically aware and proficient at it than humans. So working on your psychic abilities is the best way to get in communication.
Okay, so as we start to build that intent
Yes.
doesn't mean that you're going into the whole woo of
No.
psychic intuition and everything. It's a matter of
Mhm.
just placing the fact that it's kind of like when people say, "Hey, I want my son to make that hockey team," or "I want my daughter to make the basketball team." You're putting
Mhm.
out that intent, that energy towards
Mhm.
your child. Well, in this,
Yeah.
you're putting your intent towards the contact. You just got to be
Mhm.
careful which kind of contact you want. Just don't say any contact
Yeah.
because that could be a little bit of a
Detrimental.
lightning rod,
It could.
So the idea
Mhm.
behind it is with that intention, where do we concentrate in our body with it? Is it just a mind thing? Is it a
Mhm.
soul?
Your heart. If you want to have positive communication, raise your vibration. And that's not woo woo, that is just simple. Like attracts like. If you were operating at a higher vibrational frequency within your auric field, because you're in a more grounded, relaxed space where you're feeling as though you're accepting of everything and you're very okay with things, then you're not going to be as comfortable to be around if you're operating at that heart space for things that are operating at a polar vibration. And I hate to use like good or bad, but for layman's terms, we're going to. If you are operating in your heart space, you're very love based. You're at a higher state of frequency, which actually makes it so things that are operating very much so in their ego space or things that are very much so in a service to self type of energy will not feel as comfortable near you. So they won't want to spend time with you. So you're more likely to attract the benevolent type beings or beings we perceive as benevolent if you're operating from that heart space.
Hmm. Okay. So
Mhm.
what's the difference between intention and using consciousness in order to create it?
But they're both very interconnected. Like if you are using your intention, you are focusing your consciousness in a more dedicated fashion. The same way with manifestation, you would focus on the same manifestation mantra or affirmation or visualization repeatedly to reach your intended target. It's the same thing being said with contact for those who are trying to initiate contact for the first time. They do need to have a very similar type of vibrational frequency being met repeatedly in order to have contact because a lot of these beings also look for consistency. They don't want to just go see any human just randomly because they don't want to scare them or freak them out. A lot of the ones that do want to communicate with humans want to see that the humans want to put in effort. And this isn't a like a trick or like a just a novelty concept. They want to invest their time and energy in humans that show consistency. And that's why they push meditation so hard for people.
Oh, yes, the dreaded meditation that never seems to work for Dave, but
It's
that's all
okay.
right. One day it will.
Hmm.
One day it will,
Yeah.
and we'll get there. Samantha, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half hour, we're going to get into ET contact. How do we create it? How do we manifest it? How do we put out the intent as we were just talking about? See, it's a little bit of a warm up for that second half hour. But yeah, you could have your own aliens too. All you have to do is put the right intention out there. Is that what you want? Is that what it's all about? Getting a little bit of aliens in your life? We'll see. SamanthaMowat.ca is her website. She's one of the best out there. That's why we love bringing her on the show. We'll be back from Spaced Out Radio second half hour right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we clear.
Good.
We are clear.
Yay! Thumbs up. Good job.
So far, so good.
Oh yeah. I do think we should further try to explain how people can better establish their own contact, because I think that'd be very helpful for most people outside of just doing standard like CE protocols. I think expanding that would be good.
Absolutely.
Yay! Should be fun.
Yep. Let's do it. Let us do it.
What is that book or card behind you? The blue one behind the little purple alien head. Yeah, kind of like that way.
That is Dirty Filth's Cryptids and Cartoons. Let me grab that for you.
Oh my God, he did make a book. You talked about that.
Yeah, and it pretty much tells the story of SOR.
Oh, I love it. I hope he signed it.
Oh yeah, I got him. Actually, he hasn't signed this one yet. I forgot to bring it to Vegas with me.
That's fair.
Great. It's just great because everything we talk about is in here. And like here's one with Butch Witkowski. Dave complained about falling on the ice and how injured he was. He claimed to be old, but Butch put him in his spot. I'm not sure if Butch sent Dave his old socks because I literally slipped off my front stairs and just jammed my back. And so that night I said, I slipped on some ice and hurt myself. I'm old. And Butch said, you ain't old, Dave. I have socks older than you. And, there's the...
That's cute.
Right there.
Yeah. I like it. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's he's got a second one coming out here soon.
That's exciting.
He's got a second one coming out soon. Hi, gorgeous Kira. How are you? Hi, Science Melinda. And so when the second one comes out, there's only one that I cannot handle looking at that he has done. It's this one.
Why not? Right. Tell me why.
That one makes me cry.
Aw.
That's when Butch passed. So he has a UFO taking Butch up to the stars.
I like that.
Oh, it's beautiful. It really is. It just makes me cry.
With good reason. I think that'd make me cry too.
Yeah. Cat Chaser Dave, where's your book? Somewhere in my computer. So, hi, Asteroid. How are you? Yeah, it's in my computer. You know what? I will find time to finish it one day.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I know. I've been talking about it for 5 years now. I started it 4 or 5 years ago. And I will get it out. One day.
I think we're all excited to read it, so I think you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day. If I could find a program where I didn't have to sit down and type, I could just speak into a microphone and have it type out.
Yeah.
Yeah, much like you can on the iPhone, except something a little bit more reliable than the iPhone, right?
I mean, you could use the iPhone and then have somebody just edit it for you and tell you if the iPhone does something funny.
Yeah, but you still got to do all the work of cutting and pasting it. Like I would love to sit I don't know, maybe we'll figure it out. Soft spot. Have Chat GPT finish the book for you. It's actually a good idea.
I think so.
Yeah, that actually there is a couple of good ideas there. Android, that's a great idea. Hire someone for $15 an hour to type it for you. Wolverine, how you doing? Me Boykin, good to see you. W Decker, he's a great mother. W Decker.
That's cute.
That one just came off the top of my head there. Dragon. Okay. Kira, remind me of that tomorrow. Dragon Dictate. Okay, I'll
Is
forget
that
it.
the programming for dictating? Dragon?
Yeah,
Nice.
nation.
Yeah.
Uh, oh yes. And how much is it?
Don't know.
I don't know. We'll look it up here. Thank you so far to Dog, Louis times two, AA Ron, W. Decker, Jason, Ozzy Ange, and Android for the great super chats. Very much appreciate the love. If you're new
Mhm.
here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, and of course, do some shopping at our spaced out radio store. It's well worth it. Here we go, the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to have you here and hanging on out with us. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. SamanthaMowat.ca is her website if you want a good reading from her, whether it's about past lives, regressions, people who have passed on over, or whose aliens do you got? Whose aliens do you got? Because right now we're talking about aliens. I know, Samantha, you shake your head every time I go like that, but I love you, my friend, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Love you too, Dave.
All right. You wanted
Mhm.
to talk more about intent. You wanted to talk more about contact. Fill us in. Where do most people go right? Where do most people go wrong?
Well, I'd like to make mention of one thing prior to us doing that is that you have to remember when you're communicating with any type of being, whether it's a deceased person, an extraterrestrial, multidimensional, angelic being, elemental, it doesn't matter. These are still individual beings, and many of them have their own place of awareness, their own perspective. It could be good intention, could be bad. It really depends upon the individual. We can't group any group as just one thing or another. And so when you're making the intention to want to communicate with many of these beings, you have to be aware of the fact that, hi, Kara, love you too. Um, you have to remember that when you're trying to communicate with them, you need to, when you're first starting out, really get yourself in a separate space. So when I was much younger and I was in my early 20s and I was trying to differentiate the difference between like what an elemental was communicating like versus what an angelic was like versus spirit guide versus a deceased person, and truly trying to take some of the information I had learned from on craft and being able to apply that knowledge down here on earth, it actually helped for me to take some time meditating every night before I went to bed. So, of course, this was forever ago, like the early 2000s. So, I would just go into my bed and I didn't have the distraction of our lovely smartphones. And I would actually cross my legs, have just like a light on the side, preferably in the back, so it's not in front of you, kind of like distracting your eyes. And you just kind of sit with your vibration for a while, Dave. You need to feel what your aura feels like before you can really gauge how someone or something else's energy really feels to you. I'm not just talking about whether something feels good or bad, right and wrong, safe or not safe, but I mean like actually understanding what the auric field feels like. Because when you know what your aura is like, you can better differentiate when another being or beings come into your auric space. You can get an idea about how far away your aura is, you can get an idea about the density of it, your health, but more importantly, you'll be able to recognize the subtle vibrations of these beings when they come into your vicinity. You're like, Samantha, why the hell is this relevant? I just want to see a gray. Put a gray in front of me. Let me see a reptilian. But in order for you to really get to that space where a lot of them want to communicate with you, they want to make sure that they're not going to freak you out a whole bunch. Most of the good ones, when they realize that a human is focusing on elevating its level of consciousness, you will naturally start emitting more light out of your soul, anyways, which for their place of awareness, imagine you're walking on the earth and you're looking at it from a different dimensional standpoint. most people will be emitting almost like a black and white type vibration because they're in a state of stasis or being asleep, where they're not actually connecting to their higher self or in alignment with what they agreed to do. But when people start meditating and accessing their psychic abilities, you start emitting more light. And it is that very light that will draw deceased people to you. So if you went to a bar, you'd have dead people trying to latch onto your aura and come home with you, or you'll notice spirits following you when you go different places. Same with other things coming forward. That light that you emit draws more beings to you. And that's why I'm a really big push of meditation. So you want to get to that state where you're communicating with the beings and having the Greys, the reptilians show up when, or even the Pleiadians trying to come see you when you're in your day-to-day life or you're camping or anything like that. Do the simple meditations, do the 15-minute ones. It doesn't mean you have to go do an hour of sensory deprivation meditations with your eyes closed and your ears not having any sound and not feeling anything. You don't have to do those ones, but just a simple 15 minutes of turning inward will actually expand your aura tremendously and have a lot of these beings start coming towards you when you're astral projecting at night, which most of you are doing without intending to do so. So if you remember your dreams at all, then you'll be aware of the fact that you're having astral projections. And a lot of the beings will come see you in your astral form before they come see you in a psychic form, before they come see you in a physical form. So to have the physical contact, you do have to start having some of the astral stuff coming forward and some of the psychic stuff becoming more normal as well. So doing that meditation will actually accelerate your process and get them to come see you.
Does your health matter?
No,
Whether or not they show up?
no.
You know, does your age matter?
No, neither does your gender, your religion, your beliefs, your preconceived values of self-worth. That does not matter. You could be someone who struggles from addiction or depression or gender identity issues. None of that matters to them. All that matters to them is what is the energy that you're vibrating at, because that is in essence the thing that matters. You could be incredibly depressed and have no self-worth at all, but if you're doing these meditations, you will still have energy coming through your soul, which will still make you a point of interest for these beings to come and check out.
Okay. So the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, or what's in your
Mhm.
bank account,
Yeah.
whether you're skinny, fat, male,
Mhm.
female, whatever you want decide to be, if you want to be a cat that day or a furry or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you can be who you want to be. All
Yeah.
right. The aliens are still going to come. But when we are in the process of trying to interconnect with them on
Mhm.
a consciousness level,
Yes.
okay, this is where a lot of things can happen, whether it's astral travel, out of body experiences, uh,
Mhm.
near death experiences,
Yes.
any type of contact. Like, it just doesn't have to happen on the physical. It can happen on the ethereal as well. Samantha, how
Mhm.
how do you define someone who's playing in the ethereal rather than the physical?
Well, both forms of contact are equally as relevant and seen as just as important by the beings. We are very physically focused because we're operating in a much denser vibration. And so it's important to take into consideration, Dave, that if you are wanting to communicate with many of these beings that we perceive as extraterrestrial, which are in actuality multidimensional, who are able to operate on this dimensional plane of being, as well as higher or lower ones, depending upon where they're from, then you'd realize that it's easier to communicate with them psychically or astrally than it is for them to physically come see us. Typically, if they do come to see you physically, it's because there's more of a relevant reason behind it. Could be an agreement for awakening, could be agreed upon for health or hybridization, things like that. However, if you were to want to have communication with them, astral and psychic are definitely the way to go to have more consistent, more in depth, and more clear contact. Even when I've had, like Dave, I've had thousands of experiences ranging from all three categories. And although my physical impact, like my physical contact, has had a very strong impact upon me, especially with my health, some of my astral contact is much more dear to my heart because I've been able to see more of the craft, go on to other planets more easily, have deeper and longer communication with my hybrids and some of my soul family because there isn't the physical restriction of the vessel, which is our body, from getting in the way of contact. If you're taken physically out of this dimension, if you're unaccustomed to that, and if the group is not attentive as to the vibrational changes between the craft and how it's kept versus where your body's normally kept on Earth, you can get very sick afterwards when you return home. And so wanting that physical contact and to go on a craft and to go into outer space and be gone for a long period of time can have some very real and physical detrimental effects. One of the problems I suffer with is pressure with my eyes. So sometimes after like a physical contact, I will have to wear my glasses for a couple weeks because I can't seem to get my eyes to focus properly. And the same thing can be said with headaches and nosebleeds, things like that. Vertigo as well, just trying to adjust to the pressure on Earth. So if you're really begging for that physical contact and wanting to establish it, be aware there are some physical difficulties that come along with having things like that occur as well. So I do think that's relevant to make mention of.
All right. Normally I take questions an hour or two, but I really like this question from W. Decker, who is saying, what's the best way to protect yourself from accidentally making contact with something or someone negative?
Well, W. Decker, when you're doing any form of, whether it's astral contact, psychic contact, or even physical contact, the only thing that I've really found actually helps me when it comes to protecting myself or to protecting my children, or even my pets, is actually going into the heart center. And I know that sounds so corny, you're like, Sam, this is too fluffy. That's so stupid. What are you talking about? But what you got to take into consideration is we actually have a tremendous amount of ability to manipulate the energetic forces and energetic stream all around us. And so, if you expand your heart chakra very quickly, it can actually act as a better defense mechanism than having a gun, than having a taser, than having a machete, having dogs, like knowing karate. None of that matters in comparison to the use of energy as a means of pushing something out of your auric field and pushing it away from you. So, Dave, as I've talked to you about in the past, I talked to you previously about how one time I was at my old house and I had a group of Greys that wanted to have a physical abduction with me, and they started to take me up on the craft. And I took green energy and I placed it over top of my head and thrust myself back into my body. That was the use of energy to protect myself. And the same thing being said when a very long time ago, the year that you and I met, and I had the Arcturian come into my bedroom, and I panicked because it freaked me out that he was speaking like telepathic with me because I wasn't expecting him because he was going back and forth between my husband's appearance versus his true appearance. And I used energy pillars around my home, pushed the energy into my heart chakra, and sent a shockwave of energy out throughout the house, pushed him out of my space. The same thing being said with the one negative reptilian that I saw before you and I both spoke at Countdown to Contact forever ago. Energy is your best source of keeping things away from you. And that's why you have to do things like get in touch with your energetic field, recognize what it feels like, doing hands of light, quantum touch, Reiki, anything like that that actually gets you more in touch with your energy field is a better way to shift something away from you. Because physically, we're not a match for something that's got 5 inches on us and a couple 100 pounds of muscle. Like, Dave, think of it this way: you're bigger than me, and you've done hockey. But if you have a 7 foot tall reptilian shows up with 350 pounds, yeah, you've done those things, but physically you can't take them on. And the same
Very
thing
true.
can be said with a mantis being. Like, let's say you have a 6 foot tall mantis being that's hovering over top of the bed, and here you are beside your son. Like, physically, there's nothing you're going to be able to do against a being that has more telepathic control than you. And so, if you get in the habit of turning into that energetic center and gently pushing it away and not going to that place of fear, but just staying connected to God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing, and staying in that heart space and pushing it out of your space, you'll have better control of keeping yourself safe and your loved ones safe than any weapon will ever provide.
Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Samantha, the idea that
Mm,
consciously aliens
yeah,
can try and speak with us on a telepathic,
mm,
telekinetic level, how
yeah.
does one understand that it's maybe not our imagination, but it is actual communication from those above or wherever they're from?
So telepathy is a very interesting thing And the one thing that I want for you guys to understand is absolutely everyone and everything is telepathic to one extent or another. And all telepathy is it's a form of communication being done really energetically between the mind and also the heart, both of which provide a lot of telepathic information. It's not just coming from your mind, although a lot of people believe telepathy itself is just mind communication. If you want to better understand why this can be taken more seriously as not just a figment of your imagination, is you can look at the CIA documents that confirm that they've studied things such as telepathy. You can look at the fact that governments all around the world have looked at things such as telepathy, whether it's the Russians or the British or even the Canadian government, to look into the capabilities of it for psyops as well as for all these other projects, just seeing the validity of it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can get to understand that these things are very real and capabilities that humans not only possess, but these beings possess as well. There's also the soft disclosure of information that many of us are shown through not only the media, whether it's through books or Hollywood. They often give us a lot of information through these devices, be it the X Files or the movies that come forward, to help put it into the consciousness. And the reason why people become so afraid of the concept of aliens is because it resonates on a subconscious level that some of the information that they're being given is actually accurate. Like, for instance, when you see greys showing up in movies, they're often very telepathic. And the reason why the greys are scaring people is because they put them in fearful situations with the humans, but they're showing enough accurate information to make it so it still resonates.
That's a good point. I never really thought about it that way. About
Yeah.
the fact that they're showing this in Hollywood all the time. Hollywood seems to give up a lot of secrets, don't they? They
Well, you
really.
can't tell me that people like Steven Spielberg and Chris Carter aren't very well aware of the depth of ET contact out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those individuals in particular are part of Black Op programs that are releasing information in that capacity. Because they do have their laws of karma in place. Tell people what you're doing before they do it, and you don't have the karma. Not to the same extent, at least.
Okay, so when we are
Mhm.
having this communication, and we
Yeah,
got the words going through my mind, or your mind,
yeah.
or however it may be,
Mhm.
you know, shapes, designs, binary codes, or whatever it
Yeah.
could be. Okay, what is their intent of reaching out to you? Okay, or is it because you manifested that conversation that they're reaching out?
Well, depends, because if they're reaching out to, let's say, some random individual versus you who's had some contact versus me who's had more contact, the intention can be very different based upon the species in contact as well as the individual being contacted. So let's say the normal person who's doing their meditations, who's wanting to connect to their star family, who recognizes that their soul doesn't belong here, that they're not from Earth, and they really feel drawn towards a star system, let's say Mintaka, in which case they may be like, okay, I feel such a strong connection to Mintaka or the Pleiades, wherever the heck it is. And they keep focusing on that group and they keep meditating and sending heartfelt energy towards them and telepathic, um, like requesting, please be in contact with me. Please come visit me when astral travel. Please come connect with me and have communication with me. Then the beings, when they're typically coming into contact with someone, they will come observe them typically first if that person doesn't have a lot of soul agreements already to have contact in place. So we'll get into the soul agreement part in a moment. But let's say you have an incarnation on Earth and you're going through the awakening, but you don't have the agreement with any particular group to facilitate that awakening, but you're going through more of a spontaneous awakening because the collective consciousness is in itself rising and elevating. And so what would happen is these beings will then come start to show up in your dream space. You might notice that you talk to people who are asking questions to you when you're dreaming, or you might have like UFOs showing up in your dreams, or people that have large black eyes, or might talk about traveling to space, or things like that, that are kind of like little subtle and gentle hints that you're having ET starting to come talk to you. And that's completely fine because they're roughly just trying to get you accustomed to their vibration. And over time, they start to peel back layers of that onion to make it so that they are able to have you be more, accustomed with their vibration so they can show you more of what they look like to help give you more information. That would be based upon, oh, we notice this human's emitting this light. Oh, this human's making a consistent effort. Let's go visit them. It's that type of situation.
We got 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. With the highly public UFO world in the media right now, okay, a lot more people are looking up into the stars to hopefully see something.
Yeah.
What is the best way to manifest a craft to fly over, or to consciously connect to a craft to fly over?
If you're having difficulty achieving this by yourself, I'd recommend going somewhere that's not terribly public. I'd recommend going with a group of people. I would have a group that enjoys meditating, no one being high or drunk. I'd recommend doing a group meditation. I would recommend putting out the conscious request together, even doing it every night for a week or every weekend on the same night, whether it's Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. You guys go back once a week and do that. And doing that group request together is more likely to have a group of beings fly over you, whether it's as a flashing light or an orb or a different type of craft. You'd be more likely to have success in that capacity of the group.
Okay, so is it one person, or is it a manifest of a bunch of
Hmm.
a bunch of people coming together at once? What works better?
Okay, so if you did it as a group, you actually have a larger amount of energy being contributed towards that one single event that you're trying to manifest. So, Dave, if one person is manifesting something, and let's say each time they put in 5 points to that manifestation goal, but you need 100 points to get to that goal because you might need enough of a consistent vibration or a large enough vibration to really have it really be noteworthy, or I guess to show up on the radar of these beings. If you have 20 people putting in, ranging from like 1 to 20 or whatever it is, 5 pieces, then you're more likely to reach that 100-point goal much quicker. And so it's easier to have the group working together to achieve this than it is to have the individual. And that's why I was recommending doing the group meditation, why you would clear energies together, why you'd make sure no one was high or drunk. Because a lot of these beings, if someone's afraid or high or drunk, then they're not going to want to deal with you. And I can't blame them. I don't like dealing with drunk people or high people. Would you?
No, it ends up drinking out of a prosthetic leg on a Canada Day. That's what happens when you deal with drunk people.
That sounds funner than some of the things that, like, I've had. So kudos to you. Very cool. But if you want to have these things happen, yes, both will achieve your goal, but one takes significantly longer than the other. So if you meet up with the same group of like 5 friends and you guys are practicing with this and you're going out doing sky watches and you're actually working together doing a group meditation, it's a 3-hour event and you're like focusing all your energy on that, you are much more likely to have beings coming around you and to come visit you guys and to show up over top, especially if you're going through an area that is well known for having lots of UFO activity.
Yes, I can
Yeah.
see that. We got about 90 seconds to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. When we return from
Mhm.
the break, Samantha, a lot of people are
Yeah.
starting to wonder within the UFO community
Mhm.
about where contact comes into play
Mhm.
with what's happening with the US government and the closeness of that. I know you have a lot of thoughts on that I want to delve into. I know you don't like politics, you try and stay away from that. But if we're going that way and disclosure is, why do I keep using the word disclosure? I don't even believe in disclosure. Let's say confirmation is
Mm.
right around the corner.
Yeah.
And our guest last night, Darren King,
Nice.
called the Exo Academian, brilliant
Mhm.
man. He was saying that he's surprised that contact isn't as prevalent as it should be. And that's what I want to get into with you in the next half hour,
Sure.
because more people are coming out. More
Mhm.
people are talking about their sightings or experiences, and that's going to
Yeah.
make people like you feel good.
Yes and no. I mean, it can definitely make me feel good in the sense that the more people that are speaking about it and recognizing that this is a very real thing, I mean, it does help that people start to realize that I'm not crazy. But I do think on the same hand, it's a double-edged sword, Dave. yes, it is good that confirmation is happening, but it's also very dangerous for people like me that have spoken so in depth about this when the governments do have confirmation or disclosure about the truth of these things, because there are going to be a lot of people very afraid of this and seeing them as everything from demons to, like here to invade to all sorts of things like that. And so I just want to be on a very large property, well away from everything.
We'll be there right with you. Because wherever you go, I go. That's just the way it is. Like a lost puppy when it comes to the aliens around Samantha Mowat, who will return in hour number 2, ET Contact. How does it affect any sort of confirmation? We'll be right back. There, now you people can hear how loud and fast I can type. There we go. I'm just going to step away for a couple of minutes. I'm going to put you in the green room, Samantha, and I'll be right back, okay?
Whatever you need.
All right. Unless you want to hang out and talk to the people. If you look up in the right corner, are you on your phone or on computer?
Tablet.
Okay. So there should be where it says private chat.
I can see. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Okay. Mr. Eon, voice of the gods, how are you?
Yeah, just turn me in the green room for a minute, Dave. I'll go get some more water.
Okay. Be right back, people. All right. I am back. Bring Samantha back in.
Okay,
Hello.
thank you. Hey, Dave. All is fun. You
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, I'm fine.
Mm,
Body's still sore.
yeah, I
Cliffside.
understand that one.
Yeah. Well, chiropractor tomorrow.
Nice.
Massage therapy again on Thursday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Derek Galloway, what's happening, man? How's your baseball cards? Anybody else join in? I'm surprised we have this many people considering it's 4th of July. That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd be out there looking at the fireworks if I were them. But that's
Yeah.
me.
Did you ever come over and watch them from my patio in Mission?
No, because I had a family member die right before then. You guys were house sitting for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to all our super chatters. Dog, Louis times 3, Dog times
Mhm.
2 or 3, W Decker times 3, Android, AA Ron, Jason, Ozzy Ange. Thank you, guys. Here we go with hour number 2.
Thank you.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rebelliation. Rebelliation is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on hour number 2 of the show tonight, and Samantha Mowat is our guest, ET Contact. And we're going to take your questions as well. Samantha, her website, samanthamowat.ca. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm having fun.
Android has a question for you. Is there a time of day when meditation is most effective? After waking, when tired? If it depends on the person, what works for you, Samantha?
I think it does differ person to person, Android. One thing I prefer, like I actually prefer to do my manifestation meditations in the morning, same with my clearing ones. But if I want to have like meditation, pardon me, meditations focused upon contact, then I actually do them right before bed. So for when I get really sick, like whether it's I get bronchitis or I have like when I broke my foot, stuff like that, I will often do a meditation when it's evening time. That way it's easier for the beings to come find me. And you may be wondering, well, Samantha, they're ETs, they're able to like open portals and use orbs and take you at a time, and they're able to do all these crazy things. Why is it easier for them to come at night? Well, the reason a lot of them actually find it easier to show up at nighttime if you're having more physical contact, and that's what you're wanting to facilitate, is because you're more likely to be in one place, you're less likely to be disturbed, your pets are more likely to be asleep. It's easier to put a vibration that actually gets everything kind of like knocked out right around nighttime. So between 10 o'clock and 4 a.m. is the most common time for a lot of people to have contact. So if you do that meditation before you go to sleep, if you're wanting to facilitate contact, whether it's astral or physical, that's more up to their discretion. It is easier to set that intention before bed and make that short, sweet 15-minute meditation like we talked about.
I do mine in the shower in the morning.
That's fine.
That's the only time I find I
Yeah.
feel that like for me, and I realize everyone's different, but for
Mhm.
me, it feels like when I'm in meditation in the morning in the shower, the
Yeah.
water helps wash all that that
Mhm.
blase off of me,
Yeah.
and I just feel more comfortable doing it in the shower, where I don't know, it's just a place of comfortability. It's like my own little zen area.
Well, Dave, I love that. I also want to mention that you should never try to meditate when operating heavy machinery or driving, so that's a very dangerous time to do it. But if you are doing it in the shower, that's wonderful because you're just kind of doing automatic physical responses anyways, from washing your hair to washing your body. So you don't really think about those things. So it's a good time to calm your mind, and you're washing away other people's energy by using water to physically clear yourself. That's wonderful. That's a really effective place to be doing it.
All right, another question here from
Yeah.
Brown Dwarf. Have you had contact with Sasquatch beings?
Yes, a few of them at this point, only about three. And out of the ones that I've had, one I've encountered with reptilians. That was several years ago at this point. And more recently, I have had a astral encounter with Sasquatch showing me my next property. And that was where I learned that the Sasquatch are actually in communication with the Greys, and both groups are very well aware of each other. And I was quite pleased with this because they showed me that they're going to be on my next property, and that my contact with them is going to be getting closer, and we'll be developing more of a physical friendship relationships. I'm really excited for them. The ones I have seen are a darker color, almost like a darker brown. They do seem to be quite large. They did seem to be benevolent, and they were standing quite close to the Greys. I noticed that the Sasquatch was actually sitting on top of some furniture that I'm going to be having outside, like a sectional by the look of it. It's almost like you have like a couch here and a couch here, like that outdoor type furniture. The Grey was standing with one, and the Sasquatch had its back facing the, like almost like towards my woods that I'm going to be having on my next property, and they seemed very kind.
They are.
Yeah.
There are rogues,
Mm,
there are rogue ones, but I think for the most part, the Sasquatch beings are pretty lucid, and they're pretty,
yeah.
I don't want to use the word tame, but they're pretty open-minded and curious themselves of everything that's kind of goes on with it. All right. I wanted to talk to you about
Mm,
ET contact disclosure. This came up with our guest last night, Darren King, the
mhm,
Exo Academian. And one of the
yeah.
things that he was wondering about in regards to ET contact is whether or not we have the ability to make a difference when it
Mm,
comes to what is happening ufologically on a public level right now. And because it seems like with the science, a lot of the scientists, a lot of the government officials, we're not talking about this portion just yet. Do
no.
you think that ET contact and people who are having experiences will eventually get their day in the sunshine?
I believe so, but it's more likely that for the people that are having some form of ET contact, that they're more likely to be working in affiliation with the government and releasing a narrative that they approve, rather than allowing for the public to be able to reach the platforms that they need to reach, or the large amount of audience they need to reach. A lot of them get shadow banned, myself included. Dave, I hit 6,000 subscribers in my first year on YouTube, and I never grew past that, no matter how much I released videos, because people do get shadow banned if they are releasing information that doesn't necessarily go in alignment with that narrative.
What narrative do you think you broke?
I don't think they liked when I veered away from the peace, love, and light aspect. I don't think they appreciated when I spoke about black ops or their involvement with extraterrestrials and how they have the secret underground bases, or the dumbs, in other words. I don't think they appreciated when I was talking about how people could facilitate their own contact, or how there are good and bad within these species, because that breaks some of their narrative of either they're all good or they're all bad, depending upon who you talk to. So I think stuff like that wasn't very appreciated. And I don't think they liked it when I started talking about some of the ways that you can use psychic communication to actually establish a better relationship with these types of beings, because then they have a harder time controlling people. The governments have had many different types of extraterrestrials saying they'd like to come forward and to give technology and medicine and med beds, and to help share information to help slow down the rate that we're destroying our planet. to do a more equal exchange of resources with them and us. But our governments aren't necessarily wanting that because they would like to have better control over the resources leaving this planet and better control over the people, which are in essence a resource.
Do you feel,
Mhm.
from an outsider's perspective, how do you feel, I should ask, about the idea that there are people out there who don't want these stories to come out? What do you think the fear of the stories coming out is all about? I have a feeling that the government knows a lot more than what they're
Mhm.
talking about, and there's a lot of potential lawsuits
Oh,
that
yeah.
they may have to face, and laws being broken with their own citizens.
Well,
That's where I think it gets a little ugly.
I agree with that. And one thing that I think it comes down to, Dave, is control. If they allow for it to be known that there are private citizens having um, contact with extraterrestrials that isn't necessarily of the benevolent sort, as is the case with many people within Canada and the United States that have had contact with the small greys in particular or the reptilian greys. Now, that's not to say either of those two species is bad. It's simply that there's a couple groups of them that aren't so nice that have formed established contracts with their governments a very long time ago to be able to take a certain percentage of the population, which those groups of greys have then further exceeded and taken more than they were allowed to take, and not necessarily the people they were allowed to take. They take from all walks of life when they were only supposed to take smaller people, people that are, let's say, in remote farms or hitchhiking or out camping, people that won't necessarily, how can I explain this nicely? People that wouldn't necessarily be believed or noticed if they go missing. We have a tremendous amount of people that get abducted off of this planet for various reasons I don't think we should necessarily go into because they'll take us off topic too much. But when you're looking at this, if people realized, hey, our government like 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago knew about ETs and then 50 years ago made a contract with them that they could abduct their own private citizens in exchange for technology, which they then kept that technology away from us and kept us on fossil fuels. And they had all these abilities to prevent these diseases and get rid of cancers and autoimmune disease and help people to walk again and not need physical aids and supports and can regrow limbs. The government has these for themselves, but they aren't willing to share them because we're seen as like worthless. Then yeah, people are going to be upset about that, let alone the people that get physically taken and go through the trauma of extraterrestrial multidimensional contact and can't handle it and have PTSD with drug abuse and alcohol abuse and all the other problems like that. They'd have so many lawsuits on their hands, their heads would be spinning, they'd lose control instantly.
Makes sense. It makes sense, and it is about control.
It
You
is.
know, nobody does anything unless there's some sort of control happening, and we see that with the divisiveness in this
Yeah.
topic that continues to push my mind. Like Derek says here, the fear is
Hmm.
losing money and power, plain and simple, and
I
control.
agree. And
You know,
Dave, but if they were to come forward and say, hey, look, we actually know of like, let's say they know of 200 and something different species out there because they know of even more species and all the contactees are talking about on any social media platform. I guarantee you there's a lot more they're aware of than we know of. And they were to say, like, hey, these things exist and they have these capabilities, that would make most of the world that is following one religious or organization or another have a bit of an identity crisis and wonder, well, if this is true, and did Jesus, if he died for our sins, then did he die for their sins? And did he go to their planet, or did they have their own Jesus? And is it just Earth having this? There's so many questions that would come up that would completely unravel the entire belief systems of people on this planet. It would be one giant crazy situation for at least several years. And I don't think most people are prepared to handle that.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree on that. All
Yeah.
right, let's continue on here with Samantha Mowat. We got a couple questions here for you, Samantha. Tag is asking: is there a negative elemental entity between humans and source for manifestation? If so, how can we tell the difference between dark and light forces?
So I wouldn't necessarily say any group, elementals included, could be negative or positive. They all just kind of have their own perspective. traditionally, even the fae or fairies, which are a group of elemental, were perceived as negative and quite dark, and they've been kind of, in one sense, culturally rebranded in the last 50 years since Tinkerbell. But if you are trying to look at using an entity or a being to assist you in your manifestation, you must be very, very careful. And it doesn't matter if you're asking Jesus for help, Mother Mary, Krishna, Allah, like you could be using the bigger ones like that, or you could be using smaller ones. It doesn't matter if it's like anything from like Lilith to like Beelzebub, like they all have very different vibrations, and you have to pay attention to what resonates with me, what feels safe for me, because a being that might be really nice to me, Dave, might not necessarily be kind to you. And so, just like when you meet people, you have to trust that initial vibration you get. If you get that sinking sensation in your stomach, you get that pullback type energy, where like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this, or you feel a sense of apprehension, fear, or reluctance, then that being is not in alignment with you, and it won't have the best intentions for you. So, it's in your best interest to actually back away from that situation and to not work with that one for manifestation. If you have a particular being or deity that you really enjoy the energy of, whether it's like a certain archangel you enjoy, whether it's like Michael, Haniel, whoever, it doesn't matter if it's an angel or not, but if it's a being that you work with already, that you have a strong sense of connection to, that resonates with you, it could be Odin even, like it doesn't really matter who it is, but if it resonates with you and you feel safe with them, then it's okay to implore them to assist you in your manifestations.
All
Because
right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Tony in the UK.
Mhm.
Could you talk about the human hybrid women that have a condition for PCOS? I'm not sure what PCOS is.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay, thank you. It's to
Mhm.
do with infertility.
Mhm.
Just your thoughts on that.
So when you're looking at people who are going through the hybrid program, we often start going through it very, very young. Often we're from bloodlines that have been bred for a very long time. And they'll have many different strands of these bloodlines. So for instance, think of each person being a different strand. And let's say they have 100 contactees in front of them. Each of those contactees will have genetic alterations being done that will impact their physical body in different ways, depending upon what is required to be achieved. This is broken down to not only blood type, but also rhesus factor, to percentages of the extraterrestrial multi-dimensional genetics that are activated versus not activated, and the impacts that those energetic vibrations have upon the physical form. So to break that down to layman's terms, is because the ETs are breeding all across the board when it comes to the rhesus factor, when it comes to the blood types, when it comes to heritage, sometimes when we have these different types of extraterrestrial percentages being amplified for certain traits, it can actually cause physical ailments within us that the ETs aren't necessarily anticipating on. And some of those ailments, even though they try to prevent them and to fix them, can cause problems like PCOS. That is not something that I've had to deal with, but I do know of other contactees who have that problem in particular. Now, because of some of the things that are going on when it comes to fertility, because they're trying to activate certain traits to make certain people better at being breeding partners. So let's say they really liked Tony, let's say they really liked your DNA, and let's say they really like the genetics of, let's say, I don't know, Bob Goodenough. So they would do genetic alterations on you and genetic alterations on Bob to try to make it so you two could have a better hybrids that actually were more functioning, had higher psychic capabilities, longer lifespan, better health, you name it. And while they're doing those little genetic tweaks, it can actually cause some physical ailments for you. And quite often they'll repair them and do their best to get rid of the problem. However, sometimes the damage has been done. It's like getting bad surgery. And now you're stuck living with the repercussions of that, even though they can do some healing to help fix it and prevent further issue. Not all the groups have access to the same technology. Not all the groups that are breeding humans have the same degree of compassion. Think of it like going to breeders for dogs. Some breeders have their dogs be their entire life. They care so much for them. They want the best health, food, training facilities, you name it, to make so they have the best puppies possible. Other ones are backyard breeders, and there's everything in between. It's the same thing being done with humans.
That I can see. That I
Yeah.
can see. All right, let's go to Derek here. And Derek is asking, Samantha, what are your thoughts on aliens are us from the future?
Derek, with certain groups in particular, I'm inclined to think that is quite likely to be the case. Certain groups of the Greys and certain groups of the humanoids, in particular, the group of Pleiadians from Tegeta. And the reason why I think that is because they have mentioned that they are part of our predecessors. They have mentioned to numerous different types of people from many different walks of life that they have a strong genetic connection towards us, that we need to change our decisions now because what we're doing now is impacting not only our fertility, but impacting how our families are going to live subsequently. And they have mentioned the fact that they do come from outside of our time and from times in the past or times in the future. So I do think some of these groups are actually us in the future.
All right, Monica is asking an interesting one here. Samantha, I once had an orb come out of my mouth and it became like a mist powder. What would that be?
Monica, that's fascinating. Okay, so when you have orbs exiting the body, it could be a couple of different things going on. Because orbs are so diverse, they can be things like a transportation between a craft, going from like a large craft down into your home. But orbs can also be things like when you physically have a child growing inside of your body, an orb can be removed from there. Or if you have even an energy attachment within your body, it can come out through this form of an orb as well. Different colored orbs can have different meaning, but you have to pay attention to what it felt like because it changed physical, almost like shape and structure from being an orb. And then when it released itself from your body, it became a mist and a powder. I'd be more inclined to think that was the removal of an entity or some sort of essence, almost like an auric buildup or like a disease that was building in your body. Be more inclined to think that's what that was rather than it being something like a child or something like a craft. That part wouldn't seem as likely to me. Do you understand?
I think she will. After all that, I think she will.
Yeah.
All right. Back to contact for a minute here.
Sure.
You know, is there going to be a time in the future where you see, and it might be in our lifetime, it may not. I mean, we may be old and collecting pensions at that point when it happens. But do you see a point when the governments of the world are accepting of people who have had these type of connections with extraterrestrials or time travelers?
They won't really have much choice in the matter because as disclosure starts to become more in their face and something that they can't deny, Dave, the aspect of there being people that have had contact with these beings is going to come to the forefront as well. And they won't really be able to deny it as much as they're going to attempt to do so. It is something that is just going to have to be accepted, and they will accept it, just not necessarily willingly. I do think it's more likely to be begrudgingly, to be very honest with you. And I think they're going to have problems with people wanting compensation for what they've gone through. And I could see them just being like, no, we're not compensating. It wasn't us that did it. And I could see them denying their involvement to an extent, even if they had knowledge of it, saying, well, that was previous administrations. That's not our doing. We're not doing reparations.
I can see that being part of the issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely see that being part of the issue. All right, we got a couple more questions coming. We'll get to them when we return from the break because we're only about a minute to go. But I do think, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there are many in the secret part of the U.S. government who are afraid of this coming out because if it comes out all at once or even over the decades, there's a lot of potential reparations that may have to be made, lawsuits, and everything that goes along with it. 30 seconds, Samantha.
Of course. Just to quickly summarize, when people start to actually confront their governments about the fact that it wasn't really a $17,000 toilet seat they were buying and that they were funding these black budget projects to get these technologies and information when they should have been helping the schools, the teachers had equal pay, the healthcare workers, and countless people died, they're in a lot of trouble. So I can't blame them for not wanting to have that come out to the public. They realize the hassle that's going to be for them and how much trust they're going to lose with the public.
Very true. When we come back, we're going to take more audience questions about ET contact, the consciousness behind it. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. Her website, samanthamowat.ca. If you want to check her on out, maybe get a reading or something along those lines. She's worth it. She's one of the best. That's why we love bringing her on this show. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio's second half right after this. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, thanks. TVs.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Diesel Girl.
That's a fun one.
It is a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fun one.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like it. All right. We're good.
I like it too.
Mm-hmm. It'll be good. No, but Dave, I mean, if they think that they're having problems with people wanting, I guess, compensation now between the Aboriginal stuff and the slavery things, I mean, that's really going to be nothing compared to how bad it's going to be at the contactees, because there's a lot more people having contact than I think most people are aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And the
I agree.
intergenerational aspect. Yeah, it's going to be pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm concentrating on just getting you down here for a couple of days to hang on out in the forest and find me some aliens and Bigfoot, man.
I'm all for seeing them. That sounds good. I really wish you could have seen like that one that showed me my property. Oh my God, he's so cute. He had a little youngling with him. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
Me
I'm
too.
excited too.
I can bring them peanut butter and some celery. I hope they like it.
Peanut butter, yes.
Yeah,
I could use some peanut butter and celery right now.
that'd be really good.
That's actually really good.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I'm gonna have to check
Yeah.
the celery situation after this show.
Mhm. Well, I'm curious about them. I want to find out more about them. So I think if we do a meditation too and invite them into our space, we'll be pretty good to go. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Thank you, Juan.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's super chat.
Yeah.
Big thank you to Toe Tag, Forrest Louis times 4, Android times 2, Dog times 3, W Decker times 3, Ozzy Ange, Jason, AA Ron. Very much appreciate the love. Don't know what we're doing to be blessed like that, but thank you.
Pretty lucky.
Oh, peanut butter and apples.
Sounds really good.
That's good too. My mother always used to make, she'd slice up apples with
Yeah.
cinnamon.
Nice.
Oh, that was so good.
That would be, especially cinnamon sugar. Mm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the big debate after Mom passed away, we were all just kind of sitting around, and all of a sudden I looked at my daughter and I said, she goes, "Dad, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know who's going to make Christmas cookies this year."
Oh,
And she's like, "Don't worry. Grandma gave me her recipe books."
perfect.
I'm like, "Thank you."
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool.
Well, I hope your daughter has a similar body temperature to your mother, because that way the hands won't melt the butter too much if they're rolling them and what have you, and throw off the baking time.
She's pretty damn good.
Well, that's good.
She's pretty damn good. Yeah.
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 You're making me want to have a whole bunch of baking now. That'd be so yummy.
Oh, I can't wait to barbecue steaks.
I'm not surprised.
That's what I'm craving. That's what
Yeah.
I'm craving. Yeah.
I get that one.
Yeah. You know what? I don't see you're lucky. You live in a bigger city than I do, because there's
Yeah.
certain things that I would like to do that I can't, because every at least once a summer I'd like to like splurge on crab legs,
Nice.
you know, and it is so rare for us to get crab legs in our town.
Do you want me to text you from like Costco or something before I come down?
Yeah, crab legs.
I can
Not the
text you
Dutch.
this price. Do you want to pay this price?
Yeah, find out what a bag is or two. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll figure that part out. I'll just put it on my credit card for you. So, you know, but every summer at least once, I like to do that.
I can't blame you. Gotta splurge a little.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry now, so I better stop. Better stop talking. 15 seconds, and we'll go to the top of the hour here, Sammy.
Yeah. Drink some water. You won't be hungry. I know.
I know. Water is just so exciting. Here we go, everybody. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate hearing the love from all of you. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Till the top of the hour, we have Samantha Mowat talking all sorts of ET contact, taking your questions. But during the break, we were talking food, crab legs. Made me think, Samantha, while the music was playing, I'm going to make this again very soon. I did chicken breasts, okay, with a nice chicken rub on them, and then I coated them with shrimp and hollandaise sauce. Yeah,
Is it good?
It was incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm like, wow. So you got to try that one out. Hollandaise sauce, chicken breast, and shrimp.
Nice.
Even though I know you're vegan.
Not for a year.
Not for a year?
Yeah.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you. We got you back. We got you back.
I'll go back the other way soon, but
Yeah, well, it's like turning channels with you sometimes. Let's get to some answer or questions here from our audience. Let's go to, let's see, we asked that one from Toe Tag. Let's go to Sweet Tony D. So, are we to think at the ones that we are the ones doing, or pardon me, that they are the ones doing the abductions as human farmers?
Tony, I can definitely see how that place of awareness can be brought. And that's not the case for all humans across the universe. Unfortunately, for us on this planet in particular, we are a bit of a resource. And we have been referred to on many occasions as being akin to cattle. Very accommodating. We definitely listen to what we're told. And yes, we can be used as a resource for food, for sex, as well as for energy, unfortunately. So your depiction of the ETs and some species being farmers is actually a very accurate one.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. Okay, let us get to our next question here, which is from Kira. Samantha, what is happening when all of your physical surroundings disappear after coming out of meditation, eyes open? A white mist.
Ooh, so that's fun. So you're actually seeing interdimensionally. What happens with clairvoyance in particular is it occupies both the third eye as well as the physical eyes. And when you start to get your third eye really open, you actually start to see more of the interdimensional reality around us with your physical eyes. And so when you're going through a really deep meditation, not only are you able to, when you come out of that meditation, see things like the beings occupying the space around you, seeing interdimensionally in some cases, but when you're having that white mist kind of like around you, it's you possibly seeing your aura or you seeing the interdimensional space around you. And if your physical surroundings kind of disappear and fade away, that's you actually seeing beyond the matrix illusion of this world that we're in and kind of seeing the true nature of reality, which is the source consciousness all around us. It's kind of funny how when people deeply connect into source, how everything kind of fades away completely. And that's why if you have like a near-death experience, you'll be standing in a room with like another person who's very dear to you or an angelic being. It's the same kind of thing. You're kind of stepping out of this dimension into where the true dimensional, I guess, place is. You're stepping out of this facade going almost like a home capacity. It's really cool.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to Kim. Samantha, do you think aliens come from the sea, inner Earth, moon, other planets, other dimensions, or all?
I'm inclined to think, Kim, that they're actually able to come from all of them. I think most of them do come from other dimensions and other planets. I do believe there are certain groups of ETs that are occupying the moon in particular, as well as other moons. I do believe that some of the ETs that we perceive as being from other dimensions and other planets will often mislead us, saying they're not from this planet and say they're from other ones that are further away because they're being misleading. And they're trying to give us information and not being misleading with malicious intention in mind, so much so as trying to keep themselves safe, yet still able to have established contact with people. So often they will be saying, hey, look, we're from the Pleiades, when in actuality we're from inner Earth. Do you see how there's that safety aspect for them? And I do believe that a lot of times when people see craft that are coming out from under the ocean, such as the Navy has seen on many occasions, and many farmers, or not farmers, pardon me, fishermen have seen, it's because there are a lot of craft that are going from underground and undersea bases as well that use the ocean as a means of kind of like their landing strip, so to speak. So I do believe they're in all of them.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Stephen wants to know, what made you stop being a vegan? And do you meet tall alien beings in the forest like with Dave?
I've actually the one that Dave was with when he had the lovely encounter with the beings in the forest. That was quite a bit of fun. They were a group of Andromedans. I'm hoping we get to see them again the next couple of weeks. And to be very honest with you, Stephen, I've been going through so much hybridization the last couple of years. It was my last bonding and pairing partner, someone that I've been actually breeding with for many years now. He and I had a more intense bonding experience when we were on craft. And so psychically and energetically, he and I are both very heavily linked, which means that our auric fields actually pick up on a lot of psychic information about the other one. And he's a meat eater. So I've actually taken on a lot of his behavioral patterns and habits, and he's done the same with me. Because of how often we see each other on craft, he'd be having something like a pepperoni pizza, and I would start tasting like, oh my God, why the heck am I tasting pepperoni? This is ridiculous. Or why am I craving chicken so bad? Or why am I craving that? And it's like, yeah, it's actually what I'm eating right now. And I'm like, so annoyed when talking on the phone, this person being like, okay, so it's that psychic link because of what the ETs did with us for make it so we could have happier, healthier hybrids. As I've talked about previously, when you're going through breeding with somebody on craft, if they are your primary, which is your prime designated breeding partner, meaning you two have very good energetic and physical genetics that pair well to make happy, healthy hybrids, they will actually breed the two of you together for a long time. And if they do something known as bonding and pairing, it's actually where they take one person's auric field and the other person's auric field, and they actually kind of like take the two of them and have this energy flowing between the two, almost like a figure eight. And it's an energetic exchange, which causes for both parties to pick up on a lot of the behavioral patterns of the others, psychic communication, visual awareness of what's going on with them, stuff like that.
Big Tex, who has a
Yeah.
fantastic beard, one of the best beards in the business,
Right.
asking, lost time with no memory. Why do they, the aliens, do this and not let us have our memories?
So Tex, think of it this way. If you're someone who is having contact with extraterrestrials and multidimensionals, and let's say you could either be someone who has it from birth until death, but not necessarily be aware of it, or you could be a one-time contactee. Really doesn't matter. This applies to both. If you are someone who is not meant to be having a conscious recollection of your contact because you're being used to monitor toxicity levels or to show what's happening down here on the earth, or they're going to do health checkups on you, and it would have no benefit for your earthly experience for you to have those memories. And because quite commonly, when you have the memories of what happened when you're being taken physically or astrally, it can actually be rather detrimental for you. And the reason it can be detrimental is we as humans obsessively fixate on things. It can create irrational fears. It can cause you to try to have a lot of stress and anxiety that you then have to deal with, which you might choose to numb out through drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, whatever, which can then create more problems for the beings, especially if you are someone who's having contact from birth to death, because you might be dealing with one or two or possibly three specific groups for a long, long time. And they could be in rotation and coming to see you. And so, if they allow for you to keep those memories, many humans are not able to actually tap into their energetic field. At this time, it's like they get like hits and misses with it. Where think about what the world was like 30 years ago, or even 40 years ago. Most people were barely willing to acknowledge the fact that anyone could have psychic capabilities. Now, a lot of people, you could talk to almost anybody, you'll hear them saying that they're either empathic or they've had this weird psychic thing happen, or this paranormal thing happen, or something they can't explain. That's kind of in the collective to be more accepted. And so, for a lot of these beings, if they allow for someone to retain their memories, especially if, let's say, they're born like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they might have had a lot of difficulty dealing with those periods of their life if they had strong conscious memories of their ET abductions. And that could have changed the entire trajectory of that person's life and actually taken them off of their soul agreements and made them go on a different path. And that's why it's easier to not let people have their memories.
Do the ETs want to do it that way? So that way we don't remember what they are doing, whether it's positive or negative. Like, for instance, I know you and I have been up on craft together. I know Geraldine Orozco
Mhm.
and I have been up on craft together. I've never
Yeah.
seen it. I've never
Mhm.
reacted to it
Yeah.
or have any memory of it. I'm not sure
Mhm.
why. Something that innocent as friends, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
why? I think it's a solid question as to why. I can understand blocking out, say, if they put us on the table and they were traumatically trying to,
Yeah.
repress some sort of memory. But on the good parts, I don't understand why.
I can understand where you're coming from. And there's a number of reasons why they do stuff like that. Sometimes it can be just protocol for them where they wipe every human's memory that comes through. And sometimes contactees have better memory retention, which enables them to remember snippets or portions of the contact experience, which could be what you're going through, Dave, where you're remembering like the energetic feeling of it and like the claircognizant knowing of it, even though it's like a memory that's on the edge of your mind. It's almost there, but you can't quite bring it forward. It's quite commonly stuff like that for a lot of contactees. But for a lot of the ETs, when they do that with people, it is because that person, like, unless you tell them, hey, I'm remembering, they might not realize that you don't need to have your memory wiped with this. If you say, I want to remember and I am remembering, then they're more inclined, if you try to telepathically communicate with them, to enable you to retain that information. And so advocating for yourself when you're going through these things is very important. But for some groups in particular, they don't want people to remember it because they do have some prejudices. And, I get how when you're looking at these situations, some ETs do view humans as being quite daft because in comparison, we're not as capable. We have gifts in other areas, but we're not necessarily as intelligent or able to figure things out or do telepathic communication, which is a very basic form of communication to a lot of them, especially when they're giving us small snippets and words rather than large blocks of information. So if for most humans that they do abduct, Dave, let's say they're abducting 1,000 people tonight, and out of those 1,000 people, let's say only like 10 of them have like some sense that something happened last night. They kind of have like a feeling something happened. And let's say out of that, 5 of them recognize they had some kind of contact, but they can't quite figure out what it was. If those 5 were to say, hey, look, when they're having that little, most likely small gray who's picking them up, say, I'm remembering, please don't wipe my memories. I'm completely fine with what's happening. They will treat you very differently than the humans who don't remember. They will communicate with you, but you do have to take that step forward to talk with them.
Makes sense. Makes lots of sense. We have about 10 minutes to go here with Samantha Mowat tonight. Samantha, the
Mhm.
idea that, you know, a lot of people worry about my
Yeah,
children, they worry about their animals, they worry about their
yeah.
spouse who's maybe never had contact. How
Mhm.
easy is that, your contact, to bleed over to other people?
Um, if you were to take your family camping with mine, chances are your family's going to have some degree of contact. If my family's scheduled to have contact that night, you guys just might get checked out. You guys just might get a health checkup. It could be something very simple like that. Typically, if it's some more benevolent groups, they're more likely to just kind of check people out in that capacity. They might just knock your family out cold and take my family for whatever they need. But I have had it where my kids have had friends over for sleepovers and we've had contact occur during those times, and those other children have had physical contact as well, not just with Black Ops, but also with ETs. So it can be a matter of situational proximity, which can cause for people who are not typically contactees to have a contact experience.
Do you go and tell the parents the next day, by the way, your kid got some aliens here?
Only with one or two of them. But they're aware of contact and they're aware that I go through contact, so they're more accepting of it. Other ones, no. Like, I'm not even allowed to talk about my kids' schools about what I do for a living. I get to say I'm a consultant. I'm like, great, everybody's going to think I'm an accountant. They're going to think I'm doing OnlyFans if I say I'm a consultant. My kids are like, you cannot say you're a psychic. You cannot say you deal with ETs. We don't want you to deal with that. We don't want to be bullied for that. So you can't tell everyone what it is that they have, because some people, like if I were to tell one of the kids that has come over here like several times who, plays hockey with my kids, that if I told his parents, hey, look, your kid had a contact experience last night and he woke up with a nosebleed and that's where there's a little bit of blood on his pajamas, I don't think they'd handle that too well. I don't think my kids would want to go to hockey on the weekend. I don't think that they'd be welcome to go to hockey. And I don't think we'd have any more play dates because those people aren't ready to handle that. So you have to be very careful what people that you share this information with. Even if they are going through it, that doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to hear that they're going through it. And same with a lot of people, Dave. Like look at a lot of your audience, and I want you guys to take a moment. For those of you who are contactees, how long did it take you to accept the fact that you're a contactee, even after you had all these paranormal events happen to you, these unexplained situations? It takes a lot to accept it.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
acceptance is a big one for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
mean, is it healthy for us
Mhm.
to, let's say our kids are not having any contact right now.
Mhm.
Is it healthy to talk about this subject in front of your children?
I think it's fine. I would approach it in a more scientific way if you're someone who's wishing to discuss this topic in front of your children, if you're not contactees themselves. I would talk to them about statistical probabilities of there being life on other planets, and hey, did you see this article on the news? What do you think about that? Maybe just opening up the line of discussion. And you can talk to them about things like, well, what do you think ETs would look like? What do you think contact experience could look like? What do you think first contact will look like? Because for them, they don't realize contact's been happening for a long time. So opening up that discussion, I think, is very relevant still, even if it's slightly not misguided so much as not accurate in the way that they're perceiving it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so how would you approach,
Mhm.
let's say your neighbor is hanging out
Yeah.
with you, and they don't really understand what you
Mhm.
do. How do
Yeah.
you get the alien, talk with them and say, by the way, when your kids were over the other night, we saw a UFO?
Oh, I would jokingly say something like, "Oh, well, do you see that UFO in the backyard? Ha ha. Did, how funny. Did you see anything? Do you have a ring camera?" And if they didn't necessarily like have that kind of stuff, I'd also let them probably bring it up instead of me bringing it up, Dave, because their kid might not be ready to talk to their parent about that. The neighbor themselves might not want to deal with that. Like I get where people are coming from. I tend to be very cautious with how I do bring it up to people that are physically within my vicinity. I'll often share with people that, I'm someone that does clairvoyant readings for a living, and most people are very accepting of the psychic stuff. And if they talk to me about it, I'll mention I've seen like a bunch of different types of beings, ranging from dead people to angels to spirit guides and several others, even ones I can't necessarily explain. And if they like have more interest or ask questions, then I'm more willing to elaborate. But I often ask people's guides when I first talk to them, can you get them to talk to me if this is something they're curious about or something that they need to hear about? And that's just part of my normal everyday dialogue with the guides, is asking them, to get the person to bring up contact if they need to hear about it, get the person to bring up mediumship if they need to hear about it. Because it's easier for me to use the guides as a bit of a, I guess, personal assistant that way to help me navigate the situations here on Earth, to help people without making them afraid of me or afraid of what's going on. Because if I make people nervous about the contact situation, like Dave, if I go into let's say a new school and I go join the pack, I mentioned, hey, I talked to like 60 different types of aliens and all these other species, their auras are going to pull around their bodies so fast, they're going to shut me out, want nothing to do with me. And they're not going to want me volunteering at the hot lunch program. Like, they're not going to want me anywhere near those kids. And let's say the purpose of the guides that wanted me to go there was to help somebody get connected to their psychic abilities and someone else to get a message from their deceased loved one and someone else to not make a bad investment. Then all the work that the guides wanted, which was me going there to help these people, those opportunities would all be lost because I didn't choose to navigate the situation in a way that was more conscious and controlled. So you can't always share everything that you know with everyone, and that's the approach the government is taking as well. They're trying to be very cautious with how they release their knowledge about ETs because they know most people aren't ready to handle it. Even if they aren't doing it for the right reasons, they do have the awareness of what the public is like.
3.5 minutes ago here with Samantha Mowat tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Samantha, you know, the idea, I was going to ask a question, but I just saw Jaden's question come in. Samantha, do you have any tips or methods for protection before falling asleep?
Of course, Jaden, you could do the same one that I do every single night before I go to bed. The first thing I do is actually wrap the other members of my household in, I visualize like source consciousness light going around them like a spotlight. And then I do golden energy bubbles wrapped around them. I change the grounding cord out every night. Then I do myself, and I do actually the 4 pillars of my property with white light as like a form of like Greek pillars coming down. Then I do a couple different layers of energy protection in different colors and different densities just to help keep some things out. And you start at like the center of your property and expand it outwards like a bubble. Because if you put up energy protection around your home, Jaden, or around your property, and let's say you didn't clear out that property and you had like dead people wandering through, or you had a jinn that was constantly passing through, or something else, it can actually trap whatever that is within your space. And you don't want to go through that. So you want to clear out your property before you put up your energy protection. That way it's not problematic for you when you go to sleep. You don't want to be astral projecting out of your body tonight and then find out, oh crap, I like pissed off a jinn and it's stuck on my property now. And now it keeps like coming back to me every like 45 minutes as I nightmare having this thing chasing me or zombies or something like that. You don't want to go through that.
Very true. How much respect do the ETs give that prayer protection?
For the most part, it's pretty good. The reason why I changed it from just white light a long time ago to being source consciousness is it's closer to the heart chakra type frequency, and they tend to be more respectful of it. So by enveloping yourself in a higher vibrational energy, you will actually encourage your soul to travel to the higher dimensional planes, which are more commonly occupied by more benevolent beings or at least neutral beings. You're not allowing yourself to travel to the lower astral when you raise your vibration before sleep, which is the whole purpose of something like a white light going around you. The golden bubble is just a protective mechanism. The white light is to raise your vibration. Because as you know, when you go to sleep, you astral travel. And when you travel, you can either walk this earth or the universe. You can go to lower dimensions, higher dimensions. But I do recommend typically the higher dimensional traveling. That's more where I prefer to go. So shifting your vibration in that capacity will keep you safer.
40 seconds. Tony is asking, Samantha, real quick, is it morally correct that the aliens, take us?
For the groups that have contact already established, like contracts in place with the humans that are part of their soul family, yes. For the beings that are taking people who don't have soul contracts, who don't have agreements to take them, not at all. And that's where it's a more complex issue than people realize. If you're, let's say, from the Mintaka star system, and you're being abducted by a variety of graves, and you may not be aware you have them as soul family, you may not be aware you have them on a soul contract to communicate with them and have them visit you, then it's fine for them to take you because you already determined that before you were born. And you can find out about soul contracts.
What we love about Samantha Mowat. So we got to say goodnight to her. Great show,
Super.
SamanthaMowat.ca. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Robin McRae is here for the Cryptid Report. It's an intuitive night on Spaced Out Radio. It continues in hour number 3 next.
Bye, guys.
Bye, my friend.
Night, Dave. Have fun. Night, everyone.
Bye.
Sounds good.
All right. Robin's in the green room. I'm going to step away for a minute and see if I can crack my back. And we'll be right back. All right. We got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Open up the old water bottle here. Trying to be healthy. Trying to be healthy. Robin, can you hear me?
Can't hear anything.
It's something on your end, my dear.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2. Oh, maybe not. She logged off. Super Duke. Super Duke.
Now I can hear ya.
All right, good. Good. Yeah, good old Super Duke. Sweet Deb, you're late, but I understand why. All right, Robin, we got 1 minute here. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. How are you? I missed
good.
seeing you last week.
I know you weren't feeling well, but that's okay.
That was so crazy. It was just, I have been working like round the clock and forgot to eat for a couple days. And I did a 3-hour show in the afternoon, planning on doing yours at night, and literally stood up from doing that 3-hour show and hit the ground. So
Oh, you poor thing.
it happens. So I took it easy
here,
for a couple days.
I'm gonna just put you on mute. Thank you to Tex Juan. That's Area 51. Toe Tag, Louis ×4, Android ×2, and Dog ×3, W Decker ×3, AA Ron, Jason, Aussie Ange. Thank you for the love of the super chats tonight. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the dude behind the microphone talking all this weird woo to you, and we appreciate you tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rabelasian. Rabelasian is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night where we head over to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing YouTube channel and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Now, the vast expanse of our oceans fascinates us, but it also brings fear and unease. Ships have sailed these waters and vanished without a trace. Abandoned or ghost ships drifting aimlessly are eerie reminders of the ocean's power and hidden secrets. For generations, the mysterious disappearances of ships and crew members have intrigued maritime enthusiasts, historians, and mystery lovers. In this video, we will uncover the intriguing tales of 5 ships that disappeared without a trace or were discovered deserted with no indication of what happened to the crew. The mysterious disappearances and peculiar circumstances surrounding each incident puzzle investigators and captivate individuals worldwide. Join me. Let's walk and see. First up, we have the Octavia. In January 1775, the Octavia set sail from Norway to Greenland with a crew of 28 sailors and some passengers, including scientists and explorers. Despite being a routine voyage, The vessel's fate became one of that time's most fascinating and enigmatic maritime tales. The ship was under the skilled leadership of Captain Tobias Olofsson, an experienced sailor known for his navigation abilities and strong leadership. The Octavia was found adrift off the coast of Greenland on February 11, 1775. Despite the intact condition of the ship and its sails, the crew and passengers were nowhere to be found. A search party discovered a piece of paper with a chilling message written by Captain Olofsson. Quote, "I'm on the verge of perishing. My 2 companions are dead of cold. I shall endeavor to hold out to the last." End quote. Unfortunately, no additional details were provided about the fate of the others on board. As the search party continued investigating the abandoned ship, they found the Octavia's logbook, which had been well kept until shortly before their arrival. The last entry was made on February 8, 1775, and it was a routine report of the ship's location and weather conditions. There was no evidence of any foul play, violence, or panic on board. The ship's provisions, such as food and fresh water, were still plentiful, and the passengers' belongings remained untouched. People have been perplexed by the unexplained vanishing of the Octavia's crew and passengers for centuries. Historians and maritime enthusiasts alike have proposed various theories, but they've yet to be confirmed. Given the frigid conditions off the coast of Greenland, it is possible that the crew and passengers succumbed to the cold. However, this theory fails to explain why the vessel was abandoned or why the note from Captain Olofsson was left behind. An illness outbreak, such as scurvy or an unknown contagion, could have incapacitated or killed the crew and passengers. This theory, however, fails to account for the lack of evidence of illness found on board or any mention of sickness in the logbook. Despite no signs of violence or struggle, some speculate that pirates may have attacked the Octavia, taking the crew and passengers captive. However, it would be unusual for pirates to leave behind a fully stocked, seaworthy ship. Without concrete evidence, some have turned to supernatural explanations for the Octavia's mysterious fate. Tales of ghost ships and cursed voyages have long been a part of maritime lore, and the Octavia's mysterious disappearance continues to fuel such speculation. Although technology and marine knowledge have improved, investigators still cannot determine the fate of the Octavia, captivating the curiosity of those of us fascinated by the unknown.
And that's why we love Steve Stockton around here, to bring us spooky stories just like that coming up each and every night here to kick off hour number 3. If you want more, head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing. Hit subscribe on the channel. You're going to get great stories there each and every day. You really will. All right, from story time to the forest dwellers. Robin McCrae filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. Robin McCrae will be here each every night, weekly here for the Cryptid Report through the summer while Super Duke takes some time off to go up into the mountains of Montana looking for his big looky friends. And Robin, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I love being here. You guys are awesome.
I want to ask you right off the bat, because you are intuitive. You can
Yes.
communicate with these creatures.
Yes.
Are all cryptid creatures telepathic?
They actually are. You know, they all basically work under that collective consciousness, and they all are telepathic. But also, when you cross over from the cryptids, well, you know, they are not all animals, as we already know that from the DNA on the Sasquatch. But like, our animals are telepathic as well. So there's a lot more things out there that are telepathic than people realize. But yes, all the cryptids are, the ETs are, the elementals, the dimensionals, all of it.
How does that work? How are they able to understand English or whatever language is thrown at them?
I wish I had a better explanation. I'm sure somebody probably does. What I've noticed with the forest people is they adapt very well. They have their own language. They speak ours. I did that conference in Russia back in like 2011 or 12, and I still to this day get contacted by the ones in Russia. And every time they try to talk to me in Russian, the first thing I say is, I can't understand. And they always are able to switch it over to English. I think not only is it if they've heard the language that you've used because they live in your area, but they seem to have this universal ability to transfer to whatever language they need to.
That almost works the same way as extraterrestrials do.
Yeah, they all do it. I mean, we already know that the genetics, I mean, even though we can't prove the ET side through genetics in the DNA because it's not listed in GenBank, we do know, because the cryptids have told us, that that is in their bloodline. It's in their DNA. And I think that's where all these crazy abilities actually come from.
Really? That is interesting, because I wouldn't expect a creature that lives in the forest that has its own line of communication like Sasquatch does, whether it's whooping, whether it's hooing or wooing, or the chatter that they speak. I wouldn't expect them to all of a sudden be able to pick up the English language very well.
They actually do it quite well when they speak, because like when we speak, it comes from the upper part of our throat. Theirs is more guttural, comes out of their chest. So it does have a more guttural sound, but they also have a bigger voice range than what we have. Theirs goes much higher as well as much lower. So they're able to make the noises that they need to. They have the large mouth. They have the muscles around the mouth. So they're able to move their mouth in a manner that they can imitate anything. It's just amazing. I've had them out in the woods, and people swear I'm out in the woods with them because they hear my voice, and I was in the house the whole time. But they are that accurate when they do it. The thing that's so hysterical about that is the ETs are not good at reproduction of voices at all. And that is one way that you can tell if you're dealing with an ET, is because they can do the mannerisms, they can do the body movements, they will have all of your memories. They suck at doing the voices. They're terrible at it. But yet these cryptids, mainly the Sasquatch, that have that in them by their own admission, they are brilliant at it. There's literally nothing, not any sound out there that they cannot imitate and do it flawlessly.
Okay. So does it matter? Like, say, for instance, like when you went to Russia, can they understand English there?
Well, that was what was so crazy. When they first started the Mind Speak with me, I actually did see one when we were hiking up the mountain. I did see one there. But when they were Mind Speaking, they started out in Russian. I'm clueless. Igor Borstov has tried for over 10 years. I am incapable of learning the Russian language. It's never going to happen. And I just couldn't understand what they were talking about. And I told them, I said, I can't, and they automatically, like, why they did it, how they knew to do it, I don't know. I simply said, I can't understand. You will have to talk to me in my language. And they flipped over to English, and it was not hard. Some of them, it was a little bit more broken English than others. It wasn't as fluent per se. The Mind Speak, they seem to have more clarity when they speak in our language than verbally. Verbally, it's much, much different. It's harder for them, but they can achieve it. It's just much more difficult. When they speak it through Mind Speak, it's a very fluent, you might get a little bit of it broke up, but for the most part, it's much more fluent, and it's much easier to understand. Like, a lot of times, if I'm having trouble when they're verbally speaking, I'll say, speak with your mind, and I can get it clear as day. And then I know there's no communication issues. I had one today at 4:45 in the morning, a female that I haven't talked to for probably, I want to say 4 years, wakes me up out of a sound sleep about an issue that was going on in the Colorado mountains. And she's, wanting me to fix it. And I said, it's like 4:45 in the morning here. And so I'm like trying to tell her that I'll be happy to help and do what I can. But she was like in a panic, and she kept up until almost 1 o'clock this afternoon before I got her calmed down enough.
So
they really don't have a problem getting hold of you.
What would stress out a Sasquatch?
Having people with negative energy in their area, people coming in for, bad reasons, Like, we talked about this before about if you have to take a weapon with you into the woods. It's not just that they don't want you to take it. They're fearful for their families. But if you go in there, and as we've talked about before, Dave, you go in there and say, hey, yes, I have a weapon with me. It's not to be used on you unless you're trying to harm me. It's to protect me from, and then give them the list, bear, coyotes, wolves, cougars, whatever is the reason that you have it. And they seem to really quiet down and do okay with that. I know more people than not that take a weapon into the woods with them. Okay. I'm a gun shy person, so that's just me. But when you're going in some of these areas out in the woods, the Bigfoot and even the dogman are the least of your issues. The wildlife is more dangerous to you, or like here where I'm at, the venomous snakes. It's just, oh my God, there's more ratio of them than there is us. And so you would have a gun for that purpose. I have friends in Arkansas that go out. They always carry a weapon because of the wild hogs and the snakes and the various things. So just go into it open-minded and say, listen, yes, it's there. I'm not hiding it, but this is why. And they're fine with that. They can handle that. So, there are ways you can do it and be comfortable with it and know that it's not going to be a problem for them. But when it comes to the speaking, they seem to be pretty fluent in bringing it into our language. They can speak any language they want. I don't quite understand the process and how they do it. I mean, everything they do that I've ever encountered in all of my years doing this, which is now well over 50 years, everything has been done by energy and vibration. That's the way their thought process is. That's how they do it. That's how they do everything they do. Now, as far as all of these different languages, they're in a collective consciousness. They don't just base everything on their own. It's a collective consciousness, like a global network, if you will, through all of them. And it's very, very likely that they're tapping into that to get these different languages. I mean, scientifically, do I know that as a fact? No, I don't. That is my suspicion.
Okay, so the idea then that Sasquatch is out there trying to communicate, trying to be a part of living their own existence, but they got to worry about the fears, they got to worry about humans. Where is the line drawn between where both of the people and the Sasquatch kind of find that even line?
It's
I'm
all based on respect.
Yeah,
it's all respect. If you go into their area and you show that respect, and when I want to be clear on something, I had somebody years ago that came to me and said they had talked to another person who said, you will go into this area, you will do whatever they tell you to do, and you will just take it. That is so false. Please, if nothing else, people know not to do that. But you don't go in there as Barney Bad Butt either. You go in there with a mutual respect for their culture, and they have respect for your culture. So when you go in there, if everything feels good, always check out your energy vibe when you walk in there. If it feels peaceful, it feels comfortable, you're welcome. Go in there. If it starts to get a little bit heavier, then you know that you're now pushing that line, and out of respect, you're going to back off. You don't want people barging through your door. Don't barge through theirs. But there is that mutual respect. And if you can get that mutual respect, then it's not a problem situation. Explain to them, why do you need to bring these guns in there? Why do you need to do this? Most of the time, there's not a problem. There's always that occasional odd flare up that you might have, not any different than if you get along with your neighbor or not, at your home.
Okay. So does the Sasquatch have the capability? Let's say they like you. Let's say okay. Do they have the capability of following you home, even though how do they
100%.
do that?
Well, you're talking about a human hybrid that is multidimensional. What they can't do on foot, which they can cover a lot of ground due to size, they have no issue walking extensive miles. That is nothing to them to begin with. But if they don't go that way, they're going to pop in a portal. As crazy as it sounds, they don't have a problem doing it. You have portals that are anchored and are there all the time. You have portables that are almost like a portable, where they can just open things up and go into them, or they can open a
Oh, you froze up on us there, Robin. Weird. I wonder if they. There you are. You're unfrozen.
Yeah,
Find you by
we've got-
energy?
yeah, your energy signature, just like we find them by energy signatures, they can find us as well. So they can track the energy signature. They can find you no matter what. There's nowhere, if they want to find you, there's nowhere you can go that they can't. It's not like you can drive 20 miles off and you're off their radar. If they're seriously trying to find you, they will. Like I moved down here and I was so upset because I thought for sure I would lose most of my clans that I was working with in Michigan. And my core guys are here now. We've had visual sightings of them, photos of them. You know, they had no problem here. And I went from Michigan to South Carolina. If they want to find you bad enough, they will. But again, they don't have a problem walking those long distances because of their sheer size. It's not a big problem for them. And when it comes to something like that, they have a lot of patience getting where they want to go. But when you're talking about huge distances, they have no problem doing it through a portal at all. You know, and it's very common. Excuse me, I'm getting bombarded by mosquitoes. It's getting ready to storm here, so that's why we're having internet issues. But they are able to manipulate these situations where they can be wherever they need to be. And if they like you, they're going to follow you for a long time. You're not going anywhere. It's not like you can say, it's been nice knowing you, shake my hand, and, you know, we'll see you on the other side. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, that's good. That's good. So how do they track your energy? How do they get a hold of your own signature on the spiritual or etherical side?
Well, I know like for some of mine, they'll tell me that it's like a beam, like this invisible paranormal beam, that if you radiate a certain energy and vibration, it's almost like the bat signature up in the sky type thing. But the other thing is, and I know this for myself when I do energy work, is all I have to do is focus on what I'm trying to connect with and feel for that energy. And it comes. It's much more simple to them than it is to us. It's second nature. They can find it anywhere they want to go. They don't have a problem doing it. It's like they're honed into that vibration that your body radiates. I came out here thinking it would be better for the internet because we have storms all around us. So I walked outside thinking that would be the better way to keep a signal. And now the mosquitoes are out.
Oh, lovely. Gotta love mosquitoes.
Yes.
We're almost done mosquito season here, which I'm happy about.
Oh, I wish ours were. Ours is, you know what? I've been here 5 years and I've never, ever had a problem with mosquitoes. This year, they are horrific. But we have had nothing but severe water. And we finally had a week without rain. And now we have 6 days of nothing but massive floods and storms coming.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Be safe.
Yeah. We had, and I don't know which one it was. I went outside to put the dogs outside about 6 o'clock this morning. And I was not aware that anybody was out in the backyard. Like, it surprised me because usually I can pick them up. But I was not really awake. I walked outside to let the dogs out to go to the bathroom in the backyard. And all I saw was this big mass of like a blackish brown, but there was white on it. Like it was almost like he had a stripe or something, not like a skunk, but I mean, there's a white mark that went down one of his legs. And as he dove into the bushes, all I saw was the buttocks and the leg with that white stripe on it. So that was kind of different. It was like, what a way to wake the day.
When we come back from the break at the bottom of the hour, so we've got about a minute to go, Robin, I want to get a couple of your favorite stories that you've heard either recently from other people or in regards to their contact and the contact that you have had as well. I think that's very impressive with the way this story is going, because to me, the way I've heard a lot of people talk recently, it really seems like this creature really wants at some point to meet up with humanity, to meet up with people.
Some of them do. Some of them absolutely do. If humanity has been kind to them, I think they're more than willing to give us a chance. And then you have others that, because of experiences that they've had with us, that they want to go deep in the woods, high in the mountains, whatever they got to do to get away from us. So I think it's just based on what experiences they've had, and they're drawn to your energy and your heart energy and that pure energy, that they can read your intent. And it's just like a magnet for them.
Story time with Robin McCrae when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Cannot wait for this. This is going to be a good one. Sasquatch talk, cryptid talk, telepathic talk. Next on the Mighty S. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear.
Hey, sweetheart. You had a good guest on tonight. She was good.
Samantha's amazing.
Yeah, she is. She's awesome.
She's the one I had my alien encounter in the forest with.
Oh, okay. We had a ship out back the other night. Could not flip and believe it. It was just like a little drone. It was only about 6 to 8 feet around. But it was, it was silver, and it had the multicolored lights spinning on it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he'd feel anything bad off of it. I went out there afterwards and the next day, and like when we had another one that had come down over here in the front yard 2 years ago, and it just fried all the grass where it was at, just completely demolished it. Never grew back in a perfect circle. And this one back there, it must not have had actual contact on the ground. When I saw it, it was probably about 4 feet off the ground. And when I went back there, I couldn't find a mark on the ground. It looked flattened, but it was not burned like it was last year.
Well, Samantha is very talented in calling things in.
Mm-hmm.
Very talented. And that's where
She seems wonderful.
Yeah. Her energy is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a lot of time left. My shoulders.
How's your back? Did you get into the chiropractor?
I've been to the chiropractor twice. I'm going tomorrow. I got in for a couple of massages. I went to a real deep tissue massage therapist today.
Good.
Yeah, she literally forewarned me. She was gonna beat the snot out of me. I was okay with that. You know, it's just this time of night, it's like my shoulders start to get sore.
Long day.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, she said after working on me, she's like, man, I haven't had a body this beat up in a long time. You know, with all the knots and tension that I'm carrying right now with everything. So
you've had a rough couple months.
Mm-hmm. But that's okay. We're getting over it.
Yep. Onward and forward.
We is getting over it. Which is nice.
Yeah.
Warm night at least?
It's not bad. We've had 111 heat index here every day. And so it's been really sucky. And tonight it's actually tolerable out here where you can breathe. But I started out inside, and we've got storms all around us except right in the town that I'm in. And so we're getting the thunder, we're getting the lightning, but it hasn't hit full force yet, and it keeps knocking the internet out. So I was in there and it was spotty at best. So I thought, I'm just going to go out on the porch and try it. But I didn't anticipate the onset of the killer mosquitoes. I'm like itching like crazy because they keep biting at me.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, yeah. And then all the feral cats here, because the rains are coming. When it rained so bad the last time, everything was flooded. So I come out on my porch and all the feral cats are up here with all their babies and everything. You can't touch anybody, but they're all like went to high ground on my porch. So I come out here and there's just like cats that aren't even mine, and they're just covered all over my porch.
All right, is your house in danger of flooding?
No, my house is good. It's built, I have a stick built house, but it's built 5 foot off the ground with brick on the bottom of it. So I'm good. The only thing that floods for me is because it's been so bad this time, it's washing away my backyard. And so occasionally I'll get it where it will come down into the garage, and then I have to go out and reopen the trench because it's caved the trench in. But the house itself is fine. It's built up high enough. That's, for hurricanes or whatever, we're good.
Oh yeah, a little hurricane never hurt anybody, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why we went where we moved to, because I wasn't going to be on the coast and have to move with all these animals. But unfortunately, all the wildlife here also knows my porch is high enough where they're not going under. I mean, I'll come out here when it gets bad like that, and there's possums on the porch and all these feral cats. It's like Noah's Ark.
No kidding. No. Robin's Ark is ready.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's just craziness. Crazy. I'm so sick of this raid. Like, it's been just nothing I've ever seen before. It hasn't done this the entire time I've been in South Carolina. It's just a new twist for this year.
Robin, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to come back in 10 seconds. Hold on. Final half hour Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, your host du jour. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The Cryptid Report with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio continues, except without Super Duke because he's on holidays. Robin McCrae filling in for him. And Robin, thank you so much for being here. You're going to share some story time with us.
I am. This one happened to a friend of mine. And when I met her, she had never thought about Sasquatch or any cryptids whatsoever. And I happened to be she has a very large backyard, and she has dog kennels and various things. And I was walking back there and I'm like, check out these footprints. And she said, well, I see them all the time. I just thought maybe somebody was trying to break into my property. I'm like, no. They've got the bulbous toe and it's this and this and this. So I started explaining it to her. Well, we did an animal rescue together. And we had rescued a white German Shepherd that unfortunately was already pregnant. And she had a litter of puppies. And my friend Geraldine was wonderful with these puppies, worked with them every day. We found homes for 7 of them. There were 2 left. And I kept telling her that I was really, really concerned about these dogs because the energy off of them was evil. And I just felt it was trouble. And we didn't place them. We tried one time and the one got aggressive. So we pulled the dog back. So now she's outside one day. She's cleaning their kennel. There's the 2 dogs. They're running around the backyard. They never did what they were told, but they had never tried to hurt her, but they had been fighting each other. And she had gotten to where it was a bad enough situation that when she went outside, she took a handgun with her and put it in her back pocket because she was getting really nervous about even being around them. They're about 60 pounds apiece. She was in the backyard and she went to turn around and the female attacked her. Literally attacked her. And this woman at the time this happened was 67 years old. So she's not a young woman. And the dog got her, was shaking her violently. Blood's going all over the place when the male came in for the final kill. And she had taken the gun. She shot it up in the air. None of the neighbors came. It didn't startle the dogs at all. They were focused on going after her. She heard the foots in the side yard, and by that time she had already had visuals of them at other times on her property, and literally they zapped those dogs directly to the ground, and then they just stopped and sat there and stared at her. So she got up and she hobbled over to the fence, And she said it was the craziest thing. Those dogs looked at her and walked single filely into a kennel and sat down in the kennel and then laid down. Had they not done that, she would never have survived, because it took her almost 18 months to survive the attack and the infection that came from that attack. The doctor said there's no reason why she's even alive had they not been there. And the reason I bring it up is because there are stories everywhere about the terrible things that they do and the trouble that they cause. And I did a show the other night with some wonderful people. And we discussed why, there's so many of these negative stories about, altercations with them. But the bad stuff is what sells. The bad stuff is what pops out. The people that have the good encounters stay quiet because they don't want the ones that, have helped them to be in any form of danger whatsoever. So you don't see and hear about the good effects that they do. In this case, if it was not for them, she would never have lived. And, like I said, 1.5 years later, physical therapy, lots of medical treatment, and she still got scars down to the bone where they almost killed her. But had they not zapped them, she would never have survived it. She couldn't get these dogs off of her. She was shooting guns up in the air, and these dogs still would not stop. Mosquitoes go.
Wow. And the dogs? What happened to the dogs?
At that point, I called a contact that I had at animal control. And I said, listen, you guys are going to have to take these dogs. There is, I can't risk her getting killed. She's not able to control them. They're out of control now. They damn near killed her. And it was really odd because these dogs were so hyper. You couldn't really, you could touch them and that kind of thing, but excuse me, you guys, these mosquitoes are attacking me. But they literally, you couldn't walk them from one pen to the next because they were all over the map. And animal control said, if you can get them in, bring them in. And I said, okay. And I told Pat, I said, listen, you hold a gun towards these dogs. I'm going to try to get them in the back in the crates. If they go at me, you shoot to kill, because there's no going back at this point. And literally, these dogs were laying down in this pen that they put themselves in, that you could never get them into that thing. And they got up and walked all by themselves and went right in the back of that crate. Now, something had them do that because they didn't do it for me. So we took them to animal control, and animal control took it from there.
Wow.
It's incredible. You hear all these stories. North Carolina, a couple years ago, there was a child that got missing. And when he was returned, he said he was taken care of by a large bear. And the bear kept him dry, and the bear kept him warm, and the bear helped him find his family. So there are so many of these encounters that, and I want to put this out there too, because we discussed this on this other show. They asked me, they said, so you don't think we should put the bad encounters out? I absolutely think we should. People need to be aware that there's good and bad, but for every bad one you put out, there's multiple good ones, and those need to be brought out in the forefront as well. People need the information. Information is power. If you don't have the information, how can you make educated decisions on where you should be and where you shouldn't? If there's a lot of aggressive ones in a certain area, let that be known so people know to not go there. But don't disqualify the good ones and the kindness. There was on YouTube a few years ago a story about a gentleman in a semi that hit the female. And the male forest person came out of the woods with a child and motioned for him to come over and help the female. And he did. And he had a cross on his neck on a necklace. And she reached over and touched the cross. And she looked so human. He took the cross off and gave it to her. There are some incredible stories out there. And I just think that it is very important that we know about, the fact that there are some that are bad, because there's not all good. But there's not all bad either. And I think it's really important that we also see that flip side of the good that they do. I've been out in the woods and had things come on my property that were not well intended, whether it be a black bear, whether it be a cougar, whether it be a rogue Sasquatch that may not be very good. And they've told me to get in the house. They would take care of it, and I'll go in the house and I'll turn around and they're bombing them with rocks. like just pelting them with rocks and running them off the property. They do the same thing with the snakes for me.
Yeah, I'm not coming to your house with them snakes around. No
You
way.
know, it's funny because on both sides of me, they get a big problem with snakes. And I have been, you know, I'm really cautious. I'm hyper vigilant and cautious. I've not had a problem. They aren't coming up on my porch. They're not, you know, slithering around at all. But if you go off my property, I had one small rattlesnake that got under my air conditioner, and all I saw was the skin. I never saw the snake. So, but you go anywhere else on this block, you can't even drive down the road without seeing rattlesnakes in the road. It's terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever dealt with. But
Oh
they keep
my.
them off my property. In Michigan, I used to be terrified because my mom would tell me stories about how when she was a kid, blue racer snakes would chase her and her brother at their cabin in the upper part of Michigan. So I was always afraid that these blue racer snakes were going to chase my kids. And I said to the Sasquatch one day, I said, please, please don't let them on my property. And within a couple of days, they had killed one, bit the head off of it, and they put the body in a bloody rock on my porch so that I could see that they had killed it for me.
Well, that's nice. Or you just have some very disturbing neighbors.
Yeah. Well, I can say that now too. So yeah, but I mean, they are capable of such good things, and they love deeper, but they hate deeper. You know, it's just one of those things. So yeah, I mean, there's those flip sides, and we need to be vigilant that when we hear about the good stuff, we also got to take in the bad, because this, you know, can be dangerous. But then when you're hearing about all the bad, remember there are a lot of really good ones out there.
10 minutes left. Tell us another great story.
Oh goodness. One that I haven't told you already. I tell you so many of them all the time.
You have hundreds.
I
You do.
know. It's like it never stops. We were out in the woods one day, a friend of mine, and we were walking, and they had been shadowing us around the property. And at one point it was like a Where's Waldo thing, because they were tree drawings, and I've got photos of them that they drew on the trunks of the trees. And then at the base of the tree, you would see their big footprints were there. And we had been out there, and I went to go walk down off this ledge, and it was like a 4.5, 5 foot drop. And I went to the edge of it, and I was going to start walking down carefully, and the ground gave way. And my friend was there, and I went straight down. When I came down, I would have landed directly on my ankle turned. It would have broken my ankle. There's no way it would not have broken my ankle. And I literally felt something grab me, lift me up, and toss me off to the side. So when I landed, it was just a short drop, and it was on my butt. So I was okay. But I looked at my friend and I said, what just happened? And she said, I was going to ask you. She said, it looked like somebody grabbed you around the waist and picked you up. And I said, I went down on that ankle, but it never put pressure on it. I felt the ankle turn, but it never got any weight put on it. And I felt something grab my waist. And that was exactly what she said it looked like. She said, I literally saw nothing there, but yet I saw you not go down all the way and then just get picked up and tossed over on the side.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really amazing. We had a tree out here during the hurricane, and I think I told you this before. We had just moved here. I didn't have any tools here. I had nothing to knock this tree down with, and it was like a 30-foot pine tree. And if it came down, it was going to take out my garage, my bonus room, the upper half of the house. And now we've got Hurricane Florence coming in. And I jokingly said I was outside because we couldn't even find a tree trimmer. There wasn't enough time from when we moved in until the hurricane hit. And I said, you guys, I could use a little assistance here. Like, you know, I know you guys like playing around here. It's not going to be fun to play in if it's demolished. And we went in the garage and we were securing things in the garage. And I heard this swishing sound, and I felt this huge wave of air filter through the garage. And I thought, what, you know, is the hurricane already here? I go in the backyard, it's not even raining. And I'm looking around and I realized that tree is no longer there. And the thing that was so peculiar about Igor Borstev was floored. He took about 1 million pictures of it when he got here. Not only was it down, but if it had fallen down, where it had broken off at the base should have been nearby. It was not only down, the whole trunk had been pulled back 10 to 20 feet past behind where the base of the stump was. There was no possible way it could fall that way. Absolutely not. And the projected area that it would have fallen would have hit the house. This was not. This was 10 feet off to the side of the house, and it was a clear miss. And it had been dragged back. There's no way. And this tree was as big around as a car tire. I mean, like a tractor tire. It was massive. And
Oh.
it was down and moved off safely.
You got some serious protection there.
I
Seriously.
do. And, you know, I mean, I'm very blessed. Like I said, you know, anything that gets coming up this way that might not be very well intended, I get warnings. I get warnings from Glad. Glad gets hold of me.
Why you though?
Honey, I don't know. The closest I've ever been able to figure is, like, especially with all the energy work that I do, and I'm an empath on top of it. You know, it's a pure energy source. Like everything I do when I'm working with people, it comes from my heart. Like it doesn't just come from, you know, for the sake of doing it. Everything I do when I work with people, it comes from my heart. And I think that radiates. That's the only thing that makes any sense. And I wasn't even the one that figured that out. A friend of mine did, but it does. And for whatever reason, they like me. They're good to me. I'm very blessed. But, you know, I mean, I've been bluff charged before. There's a few of them that I wasn't on their Christmas list. You know, try to stop them from doing something they want to do in a bad way, and they get a little pissy. But for the most part, they like me.
They like you. They really, really like you.
They like me. Yeah. Well, they stopped. We had fire out in the front yard, and they woke us up out of a sound sleep to let us know a tree came down on the power lines and had not only, and this was so crazy, not only had it been sparking the electrical wires, and as it sparked the wires, it was setting all the fall leaves on the ground. It was setting them on fire. So there was like 10 different piles that had started. And they were pounding the daylights out of the house and woke us up, and they wouldn't stop. And I kept saying, what's wrong? And they were so scattered and erratic. I knew there was a big problem. So I got up to look outside, and I see like 10 different piles of flames. And then I see these shadowy figures. It was not a full cloak. It was more of the gelled thing, but it was more like a whitish, smoky figurine type of thing. And they would go around each one of those piles, and you would see it swirl in a circle around the fire until the fire was out. Had they not done it, I live in the middle of the woods. Had they not done that, we would have all been done.
Do you feel that this protection that they give you is because you are protective of them, or because they know they can communicate with you?
I don't think it's just that they can communicate with me, only because I'm one of millions that they communicate with. You know, people mind speak all the time. It sounds crazy, but it happens, and they communicate with just an enormous amount of people. I think it's a mutual respect, because by the time I was, 3 and 4 years old, I'm out in the woods looking for stick structures, and I'm playing out in the woods, and they're watching me and I'm watching them. And it's just been this lifetime of this interaction. But I think it comes again to respect. I have respect for them. They have respect for me. It's a mutual thing. It's not a one-sided. And I have always been that person. Like many people that are used to being around them get really protective of them. It's normal. And I am highly protective of them. You know, if you want to come at me and go at me, that's fine. Don't mess with my guys. You know, it's like, don't mess with the people I love. Don't mess with the cryptids that I love. If you want to come after me, it is what it is, but I can get really pissy when it comes to, trying to hurt them. But again, there are some that are just bad, just like there are with our people. And
Robin?
Unfortunately, it ends up that way.
Robin, we got 3 minutes to go here before we got to say goodnight to you. What is the best thing a person can do if they're roaming around the forest, or they're out on a hike, or taking the dog for a walk through nature? What is the best thing they could do if they encounter a Sasquatch?
Don't try to get any closer than you have to. They like to feel in control. You let them make those decisions. Stop what you're doing and simply, very calmly, Tell them, I'm not here to hurt you, and back up and give them the space that they need so that they can make a conscious choice if they want that interaction. Do not force yourself on them. Even in an accidental sighting, you never force yourself on them. They like to have that control aspect where it's their decision. If they want to interact with you, they will. Like with myself, I have never once went out and chased them down. The only one I've even walked towards, there was two. And one of them had a baby. She'd brought a baby for me to see. The other one was because he was trying to lead my pony out with his rope, and I went back and got the pony. But give them that respect. Let them make their choice if they want that contact. You don't turn around and run, because then you look like you're guilty of something. Just simply, calmly let them know you're here in peace, and back away and give them space. 9 out of 10 are not going to do a thing to you. They just want that open area that they can walk off on their own. And if you go into the woods and you pick up that bad vibe where you feel uncomfortable, that is your clue that says, okay, there is something out here that would prefer I'm not here. Whether it's a Sasquatch, a dog man, a cat person, a goat man, a bear, a cougar, whatever, something doesn't want you there, and you're picking up that energy vibe that says they don't want you there. Respect it. You can live copacetically around these beings. You can interact with them, but it's all done on a mutual respect. If you cannot, it can't be one way. It's like you're not going to go and kiss their tushy, and you don't want them kissing yours. It's got to be a mutual thing, and it can work. I'm living proof of it. I know literally hundreds of people that are habituators and interact with them daily. It can be done in a safe manner. And it can be done where it works out to be a very good relationship. But I give them space. If they know how to get a hold of me, if they want me for anything, if they want interaction, I let them make that call. I'm not the one that makes the call. They do.
Tell everybody in 30 seconds where they can find your information.
I am on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes McCrae. If you don't do Robin Haynes McCrae, you won't get me. Or my email is RLYNNE FORESTPEOPLE@gmail.com. And I answer everybody.
That's what we love about you, Robin, is you're always good to go. You're always game for a good story time.
Sure.
You're always good for a good cryptid report. And that's
thank you, sweeties. Good to see everybody.
Absolutely. It's great to see you too. And thank you again. We will talk to you next week, Robin.
I will be here. You guys all have a wonderful week.
Excellent. We'll see you next week. Robin McCrae, everybody, filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. And she's always just amazing when she comes on in. Love her. Love her so much. Just a sweetheart of a lady, too. Check out her information. It's really good. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching beyond the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. All right. I was going to put my little back pieces on to give me my Dr. Ho
I need
vibe.
to, this week I'll write down some other stories of different things they've done.
Oh, that's just
So
weird.
we've got them.
Weird stuff. Give me 2 seconds here. Are you sticking around, Robin, or are you
I
bolting?
can for a couple minutes. I can a couple minutes.
Okay, if you could, I got to get my back against the wall and try and just like I am so sore right now. So if you could just give me a couple minutes, I
Yeah.
will be right back, and I just need to stretch out my back a little bit. Unless you freeze. Okay, you're not frozen. Be right back, honey.
Yeah. Can't see it. Ah.
I am back. Robin, did I put you in the green room or did you put yourself back there?
No, it bumped me off.
Oh, weird.
I know, but I didn't want to just take off and then have you think I abandoned you. So
Oh,
I just
wouldn't be the first time. That's okay. Not from you, but from others.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I hope your back starts getting better, sweetheart, because it's been a mess for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's we're getting there. We're working on it. It's getting better.
Ugh. Well, I will probably pop off because it's after 3 my time anyway.
You get going, my dear.
Okay, love you. I will be here next Tuesday.
See you then, hun.
Okay, bye. Tell the
Bye-bye.
wife and son I said hi. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye from Robin McCrae. The Robin McCrae. She gets Doug Shelby type treatment. The Doug Shelby. Pretty soon I'm going to jump Derek Galloway into the Derek Galloway. He's getting into that territory. Hey, Tyrone. July 1st is Canada Day. That's what we call it. Canada. Does Canada celebrate? I love it. I love it. Does Canada. Yeah, maybe I'll make one for Robin. That's a good idea, Vanessa. I have not yet text. Dave, you still using the tens? What does that mean, Jenny? I'll be real happy once my back loosens up. It's starting. It's starting, you know. What does Canada Day signify? The birth of our nation. July 1st, 1867. We're 156 years old. Oh, electroshock. Yes, I'm charging it right now, right here. Charging it. I went to use it today and forgot to charge it. Silly Dave. Bad Davey. Deb, I would totally allow that. Yeah, that deep tissue massage today that I got just literally beat the tar out of me. And then tomorrow after work, I'll go to the chiropractor. We get crunched some more. I have knots in my back where I had no idea you could get knots. Like just sitting here, I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 knots that I could feel just like by pushing my back into the back of my chair. That's why I've been drinking a lot of water today. What's really weird is like I never sleep on my back, and now I'm having to sleep on my back in order to go to bed because my shoulders are so sore. What the hell is cherry tart juice? I have this great spray that works too. Like before I go to bed, I'll go spray down, and that shit works awesome. I'm more sore tonight. Hey, human Carl, how you doing? I'm more sore today because I haven't taken any Advil either today. So Be right back, people. Sometimes a nice sharp corded wall helps. You ever get those points where you try and rub out? Rub out. Oh, that's bad English. Where you try and, get the quarter pieces into the knots and just kind of push them against each other. Oh, it feels so good. Hurts like a son of a gun, but it feels so good. Super Duke. Super Duke. Good night, Super Tex. Super Tex. Super Tex. I don't have a rubber massage ball. Wish I did. Who's on tomorrow night? Melinda Leslie tomorrow night on the show. That'll be a good one. That one's done. That one's done. This one goes. Anybody watching the World Series of Poker on YouTube while it's free? I would love to be playing in this. Would love to. Just a dream. I don't really understand 3-card poker or 4-card poker. It's $11,000 buy-in. $11,000. I think they bumped it up to $11,000, the Doug Shelby. I'll check. What's the buy-in for the main event? It is 10,000. It is. I thought they bumped it up, but they didn't. Are we here? That one is done. Good night, JSCO. And is this one done? It is. Perfect. All right, Melinda Leslie tomorrow night on the show, everyone. I'm going to go pump myself full of painkillers. That's what I'm going to do. Maybe grab some peanut butter, too. Thank you for tuning us in. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.